I'm down here in pit lane at the moment, and there's been a little bit of bluing in the lead up to today's race about the pit stop procedure, all sorts of allegations flying around about people allegedly pitting yesterday during safety car periods. One change the officials have made after speed stick turn at the end of Adelaide Straight, where it joins on to Brabham Straight, claimed a couple of cars there yesterday, the biggest one, Brad Jones. Well, they've decided to move those tyres today. Mark Scaife, I guess, give us your impression or opinion of that decision.
Well, look, to be honest, I'm not in favour of moving the tyres at all. It's one of those things that, as drivers, if there was a concrete fence there, we wouldn't hit it. So if they're rubber tyres, don't hit them either. Brad's accident was a weird one. He would have crashed whether those tyres were there or not. And the Russell Ingall one, I suppose, was the only one that was genuinely caused by those tyres being there.
Neil, I guess the decision rather to move the tyres will change the complexion of the corner and make it a quicker one.
Well, a little bit, and that's what Mark's concern was when we all talked about it earlier in the week. But I think the wider issue is really that, we don't need triple jumps in road racing circuits. This is not motocross. On the inside, you've got a huge ripple strip at the apex. On the exit, you've got a huge ripple strip. Even on the approach, you got one. And the very competitive nature of all of us is that you're going to use them. I think really the corner needs to be opened up a little bit. We've got to come up with a better way of capturing the cars if someone does go off, with a radius concrete wall so you can't have a head-on shunt. And that's the solution to the whole thing. Obviously, it's hard to fix this weekend, though.
How about you guys in the lead up to today's race? Obviously, you had an early exit, but are you feeling all right for today?
Oh, look, I'm fine. We had to fix one spark plug and we're off and racing.
Cromley?
Well, I had to fix one leaky diff seal and I'm off and running, so our two teammates are at the front and two buffheads are at the back, and we'll see whether there are any mirrors left on these things at the end of it.
Looking at the last race, or the second leg, if you like, last year, it really did claim a few drivers in terms of fitness. You two be looking good.
Oh, and look, I mean, it's a really tough race, there's no doubt. It's the toughest race of the year by miles, and it's not really the fitness part of it, it's genuinely how hot it is inside the cars. You can't believe how hot it is. I mean, it's 60 degrees, but the amount of temperature coming from the floor, from the exhaust and from the engine bay is just unbelievable.
Neil, I mean, what's the way that you can look at resolving that? I mean, it's not something, I guess, the way you're talking before, that you can actually train for.
Well, it's not an easy thing to be able to deal with, because when you wrap yourself up and exercise, and the physiological response to speed is to release adrenaline, your heart rate goes up, and the whole environment's so hot. And in my case, yesterday, the thing stunk so bad with diff oil, burning diff oil as well. So it's a really difficult thing. It's something we actually need to talk to our engineers about and have a really good, long, deep discussion about for the future, because, I mean, I just don't really know quite how to cope with it. I mean, you sort of get 20 or 30 laps in and you're praying for a safety car just to be able to take a breath and cool off slightly. So
if they decide, as they have done, to remove those tyres today, we might get some good, clean racing. We're going to have a look at some of the vision now of that crash with Brad Jones, unfortunately, yesterday. The tyres being out the way today, it'll make it a bit quicker through there, as you mentioned before. I mean, how do you change your approach to that corner now?
Well, look, to be honest, that approach to that corner will become craziness. If that had been opened up like that for qualifying, we would have already destroyed cars there, I can tell you that right now. Because if you attack that corner in fourth gear and you make a mistake there, you will hit the fence, which is only about 10 metres behind the tyres. Brad Jones would have hit the tyres if those other tyres weren't there. He would have hit the tyres behind them. So if you attack it in fourth gear and hit the other tyres, I can assure you it would be a major accident, like a DED major accident.
Well, 250Ks again today, double points up for grabs. Good luck to you two blokes, and thanks for going easy on me today.
Yeah, okay, we've gone very gentle on you, Rusty. We've got a bit on our minds.
There you have it. Huey, Dewey, back to you, Billy.
Well, there's no short of contentious issues here this weekend at the Clipsal 500. Healthy competition both on and off the track as Matt Mingay, the ace stunt rider, entertains the fans. He's filled in for Tom Cruise in hot...
On a hot day in the Clipsal 500, the temperature inside these V8 Supercars can reach as high as 60 degrees Celsius. This is one of the main problems, the exhaust system. Now, you've got to think about the exhaust pipe as being like a hot stove and the floor of the car as being like a frying pan. Honestly, it can get so hot inside these cars, the driver's feet can actually blister through their flame-proof boots. That's how hot it gets. You can virtually cook your eggs and bacon on the floor. The Holden Racing team have been trying to reduce the heat stress on their drivers as much as possible. One of the ways is by reconfiguring that exhaust system. What they've done, instead of coming out of the right and the left-hand side as you normally would, all the pipes come out the left-hand side of the car to try and reduce that heat stress as much as possible. And as you can see here, no exhaust exiting on the right-hand side. That's only part of the equation. Insulation plays a very important part too. The Holden Racing team have insulated all inside the firewall and the transmission tunnel of the car. If you have a look at this fairly elaborate carbon fibre item here, this is actually a raised floor and sitting a few inches above the floor, so there's a lot of airspace underneath that to try and get the driver's feet off the floor and reduce that heat stress as much as possible. Looks like a lot of trouble to go to, but Holden Racing team will be hoping in the heat of the Clipsal 500 their drivers won't be blowing their cool.
Now, Glenn, I thought you were going to win that yesterday. So did I, Barry. So close, but yet so far. I think it was probably about 6 laps to go, or 8 laps to go, was when it all happened. And I thought, before that last pace car, I thought, Jesus, we're looking good here. Yeah. But you never sort of count your chickens till they hatch, do you? Because once that pace car came out, and actually once the pace car went back in that last one, I actually thought I had his measure for the first 6 or 7 laps, and I thought, geez, we're gonna get away with this. But they were just starting to go away the back tyres, because we actually put our tyres on at the first stop, and it was a little bit long for the last stint on the back tyres, and they actually wore out in the end.
Because they really looked knackered. The back end of it was all over the show, didn't it?
Yeah, I just couldn't get any traction, and that's where really Craig had the edge over me. He could just drive off the corners, and once that happens, you get such good drive off the corners, they can just get alongside you. So it made it a little bit difficult, but today's a different day, and something I'm looking forward to, because we're going to do a little bit different strategy today. We're going to put our tyres on last and fuel first. And if we can work to the strategy that we worked to yesterday, which is get it all done before pace cars come out, it puts us back up the front of the line, and that's the important part.
That's it, because you had the fuel and the tyres done straight away, before anybody yesterday.
That's right, and it was actually, the boys did a sensational job bringing me in when they did, and got all that right, because we were actually the only car on the road at that second pace car that actually done our both stops. So that was a real advantage to us.
Anyway, nice to see the old Seaton smile back.
It's great to have the smile back. I tell you, there's been a lot of pressure lately.
Yeah, I know that. Best of luck, Ben.
Thanks, Barry.
For the resurgence of V8 Supercar racing in Australia. Welcome to you. And before we give ourselves a pat on the back at just how great this event is, you have some big news for us, Tony.
Yes, we've announced this morning that the championship will embrace New Zealand, and starting in March next year, with the great help and support of Motorsport New Zealand, the championship, the Shell Championship Series, the whole 32 cars will be winging its way to Auckland, Pukekohe Street Circuit. Second round of the championship for the next 5 years. So all those Kiwi fans, watch us on TVNZ, all the stars, Paul Renicic, Greg Murphy, will all be over there.
The fact that we've now moved 32 cars across the Tasman for a round of this series, which is a very expensive business, indicates how big this series has grown, Tony. How are we doing it, by the way?
We probably do it with air and an airlift, 747-100 series aircraft. But yeah, the series is in great shape. New Zealand's the start of our international expansion. We're a world-class touring car championship, and we're getting a lot of demand now from all sectors of our region of the globe. And we're a great Australian tradition. We've got a lot of great Kiwis in the championship, so it's going to be a real war, Australia versus New Zealand, and we're really looking forward to that.
Well, that's one of the big features, because there are a number of top-level New Zealand drivers in this series. I mean, Paul Renicic, the leading one at the moment.
Indeed. No, we've got some great and some Kiwi teams, the Stone Brothers. So, we've got a lot of New Zealand pedigree already in the series, and I'm sure that'll grow. I'm sure we'll get a lot more interest out of New Zealand. And, it's just tremendous. So this weekend, the crowd here, the atmosphere, the whole thing, it's, how can you be anything but delighted? We are just chuffed.
Well, congratulations, mate, on another wonderful event, and best of luck for the rest of them. We know it'll go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I mean, another race today like yesterday's, and, it's what it's all about, isn't it? And it's going to be a very, very exciting championship year, no question.
Thanks for your time, Tony.
Pleasure, Bill.
Tony Cochran there. Not a bad way to spend a weekend, is it? The FA18s, once again in the skies over Adelaide. Squadron leader James Wally and squadron leader Pete Budd entertaining the crowd, and the noise from these amazing aircraft goes right down to your bones. We'll be back with more. Stay with us on Network 10. This has so much to look forward to. Wayne Wakefield already in a spot of bother here before a shot's been fired at Aggie. You'll notice the octopus strap there on the bonnet. Not the best way to keep a lid on it, but it is keeping the engine cool as he heads, I should say, limps down the straight. Barry Sheen.
Looks like you're Saab, Bill. I'm with Garth Tander at the moment. Now, Garth, have they got the air jacks sorted out?
Yeah, well, I hope so. Hopefully those rear rattle guns have got a bit more grunt. We can get the rear tyres off. So I think we've got it sorted for today's race.
I have to say, at the beginning of the race, it did look as if you had it all under control.
Yeah, the car's exceptionally good, especially on full tanks. I think Scafey got up in the commentary box and reckons we were running a light fuel load, but it was full of fuel. So the car's very, very good on full tanks and looks after its tyres very well. So we're looking forward to today's race.
So what's the plan going to be now? There's only two in front, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, get past these two up here and then do the same as yesterday, try and pull the lead, and then we can control our own pace and do what we want to do, and hopefully that'll work the plan this time around.
Best of luck. Let's hope it works this time.
Thanks, Baz. Thanks.
Okay, Grant.
What a season for Garth Tander. He's been so impressive. Very mature drive this year. Hasn't been going crazy to take maximum points. He's managed to pick up podium positions all the time and stay on top. Grant Denyer.
Yeah, I'm here with Greg Murphy. Greg, now you won Bathurst from 12th position. You qualified last year. Now your way, you're not on the front row. We can't deny that. But how do you think you're going to go? Could we see you up towards the front?
Well, we hope so. And we were struggling yesterday. The car was a bit off the pace, and really we're about a second or second and a half off the leaders. So it was pretty hard work. We don't really know if we've improved the car for today or not, but we'd like to think so. But it's going to be a tough race, and you know, I'd be happy if I finish a little bit better than where I started.
You expecting things to get a little bit serious with so many points on the line?
Oh, I mean, it's always serious. Yesterday was just like a sprint race. It was just a 78, 250-kilometre sprint race, really, and today's going to be no difference. There's some pretty desperate guys out there to do well, and they're not going to hold back.
Thanks, Greg.
No worries, thanks.
So how's it going? It didn't go too good yesterday.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Barry. I mean, we started 19th and we got up to 6th, so, you know, it was a fairly tough old battle towards the start of the race and very hard with all the fumes, but once we got into a bit of clean air, we started to go for a ride, so we'll see what happens today.
And what about the car, the balance on the car and everything? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, it's not too bad. We've made a few improvements this morning in the warm-up, so we'll see how we go, but I mean, the HRT and the Valvoline cars are very quick at the end of a stint. I mean, I think we're just as good as anybody apart from those two teams, so we're just going to have to try our best, and hopefully luck will be on our side today.
Right, mate. And what about looking after the tyres? How does he look after the tyres?
It's not too bad. We're very consistent in our times, but just that little sort of 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap at the end of the stint really hurts you fairly badly, especially over 10 laps. There's quite a few seconds there, so if we can make up that time, we'll be happy, but if not, we'll just have to plug along and see where we end up.
Best of luck, Steve.
Thanks, mate.
I'm here with Tony Longhurst. Now, Tony, you're in 9th position, but you're not happy with that. That's not too bad.
No, it's better than being in 10th, but look, you know, everyone here is here to win, and yesterday we had a good run, but that's the best I could do, so we'll see how we go today.
Did things change for you? Are you expecting much from the Haviland car?
Yeah, look, you just keep working it. We changed the car last night. My engineer, Campbell Little, they changed the shocks and springs and a few other bits and pieces, so I'm hoping for a stronger run today.
What sort of attitude do you think the drivers are taking into this race? There's a lot of points on the line.
There sure is, but it was quite clear yesterday. It's no longer a 2-hour endurance race. Everyone's just going crazy. Like that last 15 laps, it was just out of control, and that's just the way it is.
Good luck to you, Tony.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm down here with Mr. Universe, Jason Bargway. There's women screaming in the stands here, Jace.
Yeah, they're not screaming at me, though. That's a scary thing.
They're screaming, get dressed this side.
Exactly.
So are you happy with yesterday?
Oh, look, yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we're obviously run at the front there, the car at the speed, but I don't know what happened with all the pit stops and that, but somehow we ended up down the back again, so that will be right. Looking forward to it.
What's going to be the plan? You change any sort of, are you going to come in later, earlier, or anything today?
Oh, look, the strategy, we'll just have to take it as it comes, look at the pace cars and that sort of thing, but we made a few changes to the car last night, and we were pretty quick in the warm-up this morning, so...
And you're so supremely fit now, Jason.
Look at me.
I know. Great, all right. Best of luck, Jace. Best of luck.
Thanks.
I'm with Craig Baird here. Now, Craig, there's 4 Falcons in the top 10. Is yours going to be one of them at the end of the race?
Yeah, for sure. We were looking good yesterday, and then we had a bad pit stop, really. What happened was I bent the front air jack point on the car, so when I came in for the pit stop, they couldn't jack the car up to change the wheels. So it's one of those things, but grid 13, I hope it's not an unlucky number, but as long as everyone acts like they did yesterday into the first corner, we'll be happy.
Could we see some Kiwi flair from you today?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's a bit like Phillip Island. I've come to grips with the circuit now, so I'm happy with it, so we'll see what happens.
You expecting much carnage today? There are a lot of points there up for grabs.
No, I think everyone's pretty much using their brain here. Everyone wants to finish and grab whatever points they can. You know, it's you certainly don't want to be have a DNF in this race.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, cheers.
Now, JB, unusually, you're quite a long way back here. What's that all about?
Well, I had a number of interesting altercations yesterday. that I probably, if I went into now, you'd have to have a 7-hour show. But yeah, so and the poor old car was much the worse for wear, and the guys worked until 3 o'clock this morning to get it where it is now. It's still not altogether straight, but I guess I'm probably not either, so there you go.
All right, best of luck anyway.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, let's get it straight. I love that. See you, JB.
Wow, Reid and Ashby on the same row. Can we expect any fireworks between you two?
No, I reckon we'll be both playing it pretty cool and both there at the end. That's the plan.
So maybe some tactics, a rear gunner and a man charging hard at the front?
Well, actually, Steve's running a lighter load than I am, so he's coming in a lot earlier, so we'll see if he can pull away with a lighter load.
And how's the car been so far?
I've been really happy with the car. It's taken a bit of development to get on the paces car, but it's certainly there now.
And how are the fitness levels for these drivers? We came into focus so much last year. How have you been finding the 250k races?
Well, I guess blokes my age are pretty well tuned to being fit and things like this, so we're probably fitter in the mind than most of the others.
Plenty of years' experience. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Great bunch of characters and ambassadors for motorsport. Very soon they'll be battling it out on the streets of Adelaide. A little bit of news here from the control tower, and some of the Adelaide-based race organisers believe that a couple of the darker clouds around here may carry a bit of rain before the afternoon's out. So just when you thought this race had everything, something more. We'll be back.
That's what we're saying up here in the commentary box. We can't wait for this one. It is going to be a beauty. If it's anything like yesterday, with 5 minutes to go, before we get this one underway, Mark Osler, it's going to be a ripper.
Oh, well, how good was yesterday? I mean, if they can top yesterday, we'll be jumping out of the commentary box. I think it's just incredible, the standard of racing, and it's such a grind. This is going to be a tough work today. Ambient temperature at the moment is 29 degrees, and there's fairly high humidity. You don't normally get it very humid in Adelaide, which hence there may be a cool change coming through, a bit of moisture in the air, but 29 degrees with a track temperature of 35 degrees at the moment. That's hard work.
Keep in mind also, folks, last year, in the second leg of the Adelaide 500, we saw a storming drive from Craig Lowndes at the very back of the grid. There is some awesome talent at the back of the pack today. We talk of the likes of Russell Ingall, Neil Crompton, Mark Scaife and many others. It is going to be some good racing as they fight their way through.
Unfortunately, Wayne Wakefield won't be making the start. One of the V8 Lights competitors, Konica V8 Lights at Eastern Creek a couple of weeks ago. He's been allowed entry to the race, but he'll have to start from pit lane after his bonnet came up on the formation lap. Unfortunately, one of the crew members forgot to put the bonnet pins in, and the bonnet flipped up, smashed into the windscreen. I think they're having to try to fix the bonnet and replace the screen before this race starts. So that's an unnecessary thing to happen so close to the beginning of the start. There he is.
Wayne, of course, won the very first race of the Konica V8 Lights, but suffered power steering problems in race 2 and had problems again in race 3. Finished 6th in the opening round, but a couple of the other competitors in that series elected not to come here to Adelaide, so he was granted entry.
John Fortner 10th in race 1 yesterday in the Team Asia Online Commodore. And he's just checking out his drink straws there.
There's Garth Tander, our series leader at the moment. Has played it so consistent this season, has yet to win a race in the Shell Championship Series, was victorious in one of the support races at the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix, but his consistency is what sees him at the top of the table at the moment. There's Tony Longhurst, the Caltex Haviline Ford.
Most experienced driver in the Shell field at the moment. 137 championship starts, 3 pole positions, 4 wins. He's been on the podium 24 times, but the significant thing about Tony, he's gone 75 rounds without a win. It was back in 1992 driving one of the B&H BMWs when Tony last tasted the champagne on the top spot. So imagine if he could jag a win here this afternoon.
Go even further when you're talking in endurance terms. One of the big ones that sticks in my mind for Tony goes back over 10 years. 1988 at Bathurst in the Ford Sierra. So It's been a long time between drinks in terms of endurance victories.
John Bowe, really been in the wars. That car has copped a hammering. I was talking to him this morning. He said the amount of damage that it copped yesterday, he couldn't believe it was still going. But the team managed to limp on, and Bowe will take his place on the grid. Bruised and battered, but ready for another 250 kilometres of punishment. There's the Ford flyer, Glenn Seaton. The miracle man of Saturday. The FTR team have been in all sorts of bother since the beginning of the 2000 campaign.
People get advantage points everywhere here.
Since they've switched to that new Bridgestone control tyre this weekend, it's really quite revived the Fords, particularly on this stop-start sort of street circuit. Seaton's car has been working particularly well. Let's check the full grid, how they'll line up in race 2 of the Clipsal 500. Craig Lowndes, well, right on top of the order. Glenn Seaton qualified 6th, ended up 2nd. That was a great result. Garth Tander, pole position man, slips back a little bit. Stephen Richards, that's a good effort. Only qualified 10th in the Kmart car. They're having trouble getting qualifying speed out of those cars, but in the race, they're very strong. Paul Radisich up to 5th. Stephen Johnson. Now, that was outstanding for Junior. A rookie on the streets of Adelaide. He qualified 19th with very little track time and ended up 6th. An outstanding drive.
We go further back. Tony Longhurst and John Faulkner poised, hopefully, for some sort of success today. Todd Kelly involved in that altercation with John Bowe yesterday, who sits alongside today on row 6. He apologised to Bowie overnight. Craig Baird and McConville. A good performance from McConville. He'll line up on row 7 today. Trevor Ashby and Steve Reed also well placed for the privateers.
Yeah, McConville jumped from 28th on the grid. That was a great performance. Dougal McDougall, Peter Dorman in the Gatorade car. Thomas Mazera, Dean Canto. Matt Coleman in the colour scan Falcon, deputising for Danny Osborne. Chris Smurden, the local.
Wayne Wakefield and Alan Heath. Then it's Gary Holt and Mark Poole on row 14. Now we start to see some of the big guns. Neil Crompton and Steve Ellery at the back of the grid. Cameron McLean there as well after his engine let go yesterday. It lost all its oil.
Larry Turkins, Russell Engel, they both crashed at Speed Stick Turn yesterday, and they've got a lot of work to do. Mark Larkin back there too after pit infringement. And Mark Scaife, believe it or not, what put him out of the race yesterday? A broken spark plug. It's the old 50-cent part routine, isn't it, Rusty?
Can you believe it? Cameron McLean, who you can see there on screen, was another to suffer from that sort of syndrome, Mark. A problem with a fitting, one of the oil lines which went into the engine broke, and the engine lost all of its oil. Now, we're getting an updated weather report through here.
Yeah, we hear the forecast is for heavy showers, very heavy rain later in the afternoon. Now, whether that happens during this race is anyone's guess, but it is getting quite cloudy. Temperature's dropping a little bit. It's very high humidity, so there's a fair bit of moisture in the air. I wonder if that new front is going to hit while this race is underway. We saw some absolutely chaotic events here back in the Formula One days.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if it does hit. I've just come up from downstairs. It's really sticky and wet down there now. Yeah. If you look over in the back there, it's quite cloudy.
Big field of V8s weaving their way through the centre chicane up Wakefield Street. Last chance to get temperature into the tyres. Check the gauges, make sure all the car's ancillary systems are working right, oil pressure's right, all the oil temperatures are correct. Here's the man who took the fight right to the wire on the Ford Livet in-car camera, Glenn Seaton. Tremendous battle with Craig Lowndes right to the dying moments of the race yesterday. Had to concede, but they're going to change their pit strategy today. Seaton said the problem was when he had to make his 2 compulsory pit stops, they chose to change the tyres first. So when it came to the end of that race, his rear tyres were feeling a little bit second-hand. He just didn't have the speed to match Lowndes in that battle to the end.
We'll take a look at Paul Radisich, the Rat, ready to do battle in the Shell Helix Ford. Was looking very strong in the latter stages of yesterday's first 250k race, and so too his teammate Stephen Richards.
John Bowe, 44-year-old veteran. Big, clear and simple in-car camera in the Caterpillar Ford. You're looking at the back. Craig Baird, expect a strong performance from him. He's feeling very confident. They did have a drama in the pit stop yesterday that really put him down the order. But as you've seen with his Heat 2 success at Phillip Island, this man can win races. Mark Larkin might attempt forward. He's right at the back of the grid. Bit of a mix-up in the pit. Now, what's he got here?
That's his kids, Judd, Amber, Troy and Tess. Hi, guys.
That's great. His feet can talk. Mark Larkin.
Well, look at the helmet there.
Greg Murphy, yep, with a very special air filtration system. It's designed to keep his head cool. You tend to lose most of your body heat, believe it or not, through your head. So it gets very tough for these drivers when you consider that they're all in fire protective gear and they've got a helmet on as well, and they're working in something in the vicinity of 60-degree temperatures.
You'd have to say, as long as your head is cool, the rest of your body, it doesn't matter how hot your body gets, as long as your head's cool, it just doesn't seem to register.
Let's check out the Ford race analysis for race 2. 38 starters, the race distance 78 laps or 250 kilometres. 1 compulsory stop for fuel, 1 compulsory stop for tyres. You can't refuel when you're changing tyres, and you can't change tyres when you're refueling. That's the rules between laps 15 and 57.
Yeah, look,
that is Trevor. That's Steve Reed, in fact, that has come into the pits there in one of the Optus Commodores. And Wayne Wakefield is also at the end of pit lane because he's got no windscreen. We hear, there you have it, no windscreen or rear window. So as a result of that bonnet flying up before and damaging his car, Steve Reed team have dived on the PPG Optus Commodore.
There's Wakefield's car there to the left of screen, sitting in pit lane here. Under the regulations, if you remove the windscreen, you have to remove the rear window as well.
Otherwise, the wind would remove it, wouldn't it? Just blow it out the back.
We welcome viewers right around Australia for this one and through TV1 in New Zealand. This is the Clipsal 500, and the V8 Supercars are ready once again to light up the streets of Adelaide. Will Lowndes win again, or will the Ford fans be rejoicing at the end of today's 250k race? There it is, Holden versus Ford on the front row. The way they finished yesterday, Lowndes ahead of Seaton, the revs rise. The awesome V8s bring the streets of Adelaide alive once again. Who will get the jump? Where are they? In the Clipsal 500. And again, Seaton's made a brilliant start. Lowndes will be on the outside for the run down into the centre chicane. Who will give? Seaton's through. The field streaming through the centre chicane. Look how tightly bunched up this huge field. 38 V8 Supercars. And thus far they are all through cleanly. Keep an eye at the back of the pack. Lights ablaze for Russell Ingall. He will be desperate to fight his way forward and gain some valuable championship points.
Got some very fast cars back in this field. There he is, Russell Ingall, the enforcer. He had a terrible day yesterday, lost control of the car at Speed 16, took him out of the race. There's 160 points available here for the race winner.
Oh, my God, Paul Radicic! Paul Radicic! Oh, you cannot believe this. Now, I wonder what has caused that. That has put him right to the very back of things. Started out of grid position 5 today. And now with all the work to do.
Oh, I just wonder in the rough and tumble of that opening pack whether he got turned around or whether he lost control. We don't know. But there's the battle for the lead now. Seaton in control from Lowndes. Big run up the inside.
Yes, gotcha.
So Stephen Richards making the better of the start, and Tanner now finds his way back into third position. So at the moment,
look at they've pulled out a good distance there,
haven't they? While those two have been battling away. Huge field of V8 Supercars, and Glenn Seaton leads them for the completion of turn 1 in the FTR Falcon. Craig Lowndes in second place. Garth Tander, your championship leader, sits in third in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore, and then it's Stephen Richards in the Kmart Commodore doing great things. Now for the centre chicane. This is a closer look.
This is Radicic in the front here. Let's see what happens. Message from Merton. It doesn't look like there was a touch.
No, there's somebody else off the inside there. There was somebody else off the inside of Greg Murphy.
Should see them. Oh,
goodness me, it's his teammate.
Stephen, yes. Oh, dear me, that's Jason by
now, I wonder how that's happened.
I don't know. Just.
There was no contact between the two Kiwis that we could see.
Let's have a look here. It's all bunching up a bit. Oh, it's too late.
That's the aftermath there. Look at the evasive action going on there for the Rat. How nervous would you be?
Oh, no, horror story.
Watching the field come through.
Down the end of Brabham Straight. Tander now in fourth position. Murphy behind him. Then it's a bit of a gap back to Bargwana. Faulkner, Bow, Johnson, Baird, Longhurst, Kelly, McConville. And I bet that big gap causing the traffic was because of that speed.
Yes, really. No doubt.
Really held up the rest of the field. The Ford limit. In-car camera looking at the back of Craig Lowndes. This is the battle for the lead. Lap 2 of 78. We've got a lot of warfare ahead of us. We saw a tremendous battle between these two right through the race yesterday. No reason why today shouldn't be any different. Seaton hard on the brakes for the centre chicane. Baird behind it. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay.
Oh, Alan Heath.
Oh, is he coming back to get someone? Oh, look at Russell. Whoa, the Russell's saying, oh, no, again. That was a good bit of evasive action by everybody, wasn't it?
Seaton continues to lead the way around the streets of Adelaide from Craig Lowndes. If you've just joined us, this is race 2 of the Clipsal 500, 250 kilometres of bump and grind around Adelaide. At the moment, a Ford leads from 2 Commodores. It is Seaton from Lowndes. There you see it on the bottom of your screen. Garth Tander, the championship leader, starting to close in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. And Stephen Richards sits in 4th place in the Kmart Commodore.
It's interesting, you need about 170, 180 litres of fuel to complete this race distance. I'm sure some guys yesterday decided to start out on a slightly lower fuel load. But the trouble is with that, when you come in for your compulsory fuel stop, it takes you much longer to take on fuel. So later on in the race, it can actually cost you a lot of time. It seems to be, I was talking to Jeff Greg, the Hulk Racing team manager today, and he said that they reckon the best way to go is just fill the tank right up from the start. And that leaves
gives you the minimum amount of fuel required for your compulsory fuel stop.
Those of you keeping an eye on some of the guys who are at the back of the pack and how they are improving. Ingle is now up to 25th place. Mark Scaife up to 28th. So we'll keep you up to speed with their progress throughout this one. Grant Denyer.
Steve Reed has parked his car apparently because he snapped an axle when he took off for the warm-up lap, so the team is absolutely disappointed. But the good news is they've got it in the shed, they've ripped the old one out and they're putting the new one in, and they're going to try and get back into this race.
Greg Murphy in 5th position, Bargwana in 6th, Faulkner in 7th, the Team Asia online car.
That's really good for him because he got really, really bad back trouble, John Faulkner. He can hardly walk.
Yeah, it was a difficult decision for him to make. He had Formula 4 champion Adam Macro waiting in the wings should his back problem have got so bad he couldn't drive the car. John made the decision to compete. He's doing very, very well at the moment, up to 7th position. And if they can play the team tactics correctly with the pit stops, this car could be looking very strong by the end of this afternoon.
Yeah, Faulkner's lapping in the 27s. He's going really, really very good.
The cars coming through that speed stick turn there seem to be already going very, very quick. So the removal of those tyres is, I guess, allowing the confidence to come right up your ride with Greg Murphy, Bathurst winner in 1999 and in 1996 with Craig Lowndes. This is the Kmart Castrol Commodore working down towards Mistral Turn. His teammate Stephen Richards you can see in the foreground there. And there is the Be Clear and Simple onboard telemetry.
Well, it's a bit of a mystery why this team has not yet been able to get much qualifying speed out of these cars. That is when they put fresh tyres on. The gain they make from those tyres is much less than a lot of the other leading teams. That's why they always end up so far back on the grid. And in sprint races, that's absolutely disastrous. But once you get a longer race distance, these Kmart cars of Richards and Murphy always looking strong. But look where they are now. Stephen Richards 4th, Murphy in 5th, looking very strong for the podium.
4 Kiwis, incidentally, are inside the top 10. So for those of you watching through TVNZ, trust you're enjoying it. The Kiwis are doing very well.
Back at the front, starting to tighten up as the track temperature drops. We are getting much cooler conditions now. We could have rain before this race is over. Here's the battle at the front. The lone forward of Glenn Seaton, 34-year-old Victorian. And he's got plenty of pressure behind him. Craig Lowndes and the Holden Racing Team Commodore victorious. Just look at
look at this, Tander. Yeah, what? Nice one. Very, very good. Oh, it looks like thought he was going to go straight there.
Garth seemed to do that with ease.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Lowndes possibly playing a game of tactics here.
Either that, he could have missed a gear or something, you know, and you'd lose the run onto the straight.
Well, Tander said he wanted to lead this race. Figured he had the speed. Mike Axel prepared Chevy engines, got plenty of horsepower, no doubt about that. The chassis working brilliantly. A lot of help from Steve Kramer from the Orange Shock business. He brings them into the country and he does a lot of work on the Valvoline Cummins cars, and obviously the way this car is riding the bumps very effectively. Look at the way he glides it over the ripple strips there. It's obviously working very well, and Garth driving it right to its limit. He's coming right up behind Seaton now, so Seaton's going to have his mirrors full of Valvoline Cummins Commodore, chewing on his drink straw, making sure he keeps up his fluid levels.
Closing one eye though, I like that.
Gets the clear line through the corner rather.
I think he was giving us the wink there.
He was. For those of you watching further back in the field, Ingle now up to 22nd, Mark Scaife up to 26th, Neil Crompton 20th, Mark Larkham in 28th position, and Radicic after that unfortunate spin on the opening lap is back in 30th position, so that's where the wrap is.
With a split back to Garth Tander in 3rd. There's a few other splits as you look down through the field. Look at this, Craig Baird coming up the inside of Stephen Johnson as they approach speed stick turn, decides to duck back in behind for the run down to the hairpin. The Turtec Falcon looking competitive. It was pretty strong yesterday, but a bundle in the pit stop really cost them a lot of time. And right behind Baird is his teammate Tony Longhurst in the Caltex Himalayan forward.
It's a good run from Stephen Johnson when you consider. I didn't realise Stephen hadn't even been here before.
No, he was a rookie driver.
Yeah, really good run.
Didn't have any track time in the timed sessions early on Friday. Had a misfire in the car. It took the mechanics ages to find it, so he didn't get any track time. He had to start from right down low yesterday on himself up in 6th position, so it was a great drive. He's looking very strong here this afternoon.
Word through from the pits is that in that spin involving Paul Radisich, Jason Bargwanna has sort of clipped him on the way through by the sounds of things. So we'll keep an eye on Bargwanna's process at the moment. He sits in 6th place, so it doesn't seem to have harmed the Valvoline Cummins Commodore at the moment. Glenn Seaton leads from Garth Tander, Craig Lowndes in 3rd place, Stephen Richards 4th. And then we see this battle continuing between Greg Murphy, Bargwanna and John Faulkner. A great performance from him given the back problems that he has been having since Phillip Island this year. Was running around madly looking for a chiropractor while he was down there. Good shot, you can see out the back of the Kmart Commodore the damage to the front right of Bargwanna's car, but it's not hampering his progress as they go down the Adelaide Straight.
Fastest man on the track so far, Garth Tander, up to 2nd position. He's just on a 1:27.16. 1:27.33 for Seaton, so they're all separated by only a couple of tenths of a second, but he's the fastest guy at the moment on a full tank of fuel. It's a good sign for the rest of this race. There's Bargwanna trying hard in the Valvoline Cummins car 35. Locked in this battle with Greg Murphy and John Faulkner. Seaton, Tander and Lowndes. There's some 3.3 seconds up the road from that group. There's Crompton, there's Scaife, Russell Engel, Larry Perkins. By dint of all sorts of misfortune yesterday, they find themselves right down the order, but they're on a serious charge through the field. Grant Denyer.
Well, as if the race isn't hard enough for the drivers, spare a thought for Wayne Wakefield, who's out there with no front or rear windscreen. He also has an open face helmet. So the team here have had to run around, borrow this one here off Dean Canto's team, but Wayne Wakefield just won't come in. He does, however, have a pair of skydiving goggles, but he's going to have a severe case of windburn when he finishes this race. It's going to be tough.
That's so dangerous as well, because if you're following a car and he picks up a stone...
Look at this, down the inside.
Gotcha.
Skate through on Neil Crompton. So Skate moves through. And look at Russell Engel coming for the ride as well. Oh, that's Larry Perkins. That is Larry Perkins. So...
oh, yeah, it's good position. Perkins there on the right side of the circuit.
Well, it would actually make sense for these guys to work together, because Paul Radisich is just behind with his lights on in the shell car. He's climbing back as well, so we've got a whole lot of absolute top guns working their way through the field at the moment. Neil Crompton's in 22nd place, Scaife's 23rd. Scaife actually took Crompton, so he takes up a position, but these guys are running just outside the top 20. And Radisich is charging. He's coming up right up behind this duo, so we've got a great charge for the field ahead.
Trust you're enjoying all the action here from the streets of Adelaide. This is race 2 of the Clipsal 500. Glenn Seaton leading from Tander, Craig Lowndes, Stephen Richards and Greg Murphy doing very well in the Kmart Commodore. Jason Bargwanna, John Faulkner also well placed.
Stephen Johnson, Craig Baird, Tony Longhurst. Look at them go. Todd Kelly, Cameron McConville, good performance. Trevor Ashby, Paul Morris and Mark Poole.
Then it's Ellery, McDougall, Mazira, Ingle and McLean. Stay with us here on the streets of Adelaide. Can Seaton take out today's?
Down to the Clipsal 500 as we see Garth Tander making a run the lead on Glenn Seaton inside and through. Garth Tander, championship leader, now race leader at the Clipsal 500. Seaton 2nd. Craig Lowndes sitting back in 3rd at a gap of some 6 seconds to Stephen Richards. Don't forget, 5 laps to go before the window for compulsory pit stops.
What a brilliant move that was by Garth Tander. We saw him do it in virtually the same place on Craig Lowndes and now on Glenn Seaton. This kid has got the eyes on. 23 years of age, he leads the championship and he wants victory here at the Adelaide 500. Has yet to win a race, as I said a little earlier, in the Shell Championship Series this year, but you can bet he wants this desperately.
The thing nice about Tander, he looks so smooth, you know, when he gets on the brakes, he's straight up the inside there. He's not all sort of locked up, you know, semi sort of T-bone mode or anything, you know, looks totally under control and really he's on it.
He's approaching his drive now as a true champion.
Yeah,
he's become very scientific. Oh, here we go. Wayne Wakefield. He tried to run without a screen in the front or the rear, but it looks like something else has taken him out of the race. Well, in terms of his personal safety, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Driving with an open face helmet, anything could have got into his eyes there, so he's probably better off. Great shame though to see the graphic skills Commodore out of the running so early. I was going to say Garth Tander is taking a very scientific approach to his fitness now. He's working with a personal trainer, just working on specific muscle strength and endurance to drive these cars. And he's doing a tremendous job. Look at that great shot from our Channel 10 chopper as the cars weave their way around this 3.2-kilometre circuit. Very picturesque. You can see all the corporate boxes right up against the track.
Look at the ground Tander's pulled out in a lap.
Yeah. We're talking about Tander there before, Mark, and his dedication to fitness at the moment. He spends something in the order of 9 hours per week on his fitness, whether it be running, working in the gym. I mean, all sorts of things that he does to maintain the sort of endurance fitness that these guys need to race at events like the Adelaide 500. And Tander, that's roughly a day out of your average working week spent purely on fitness.
Well, he is now a full-time professional driver, part of Holden's team of champions, plus his Valvoline and Cummins commitments. Very busy boy during the week when he's not driving a car.
That's the thing when you drive or ride a bike. Basically, you get your physical condition, and then you need your mental condition as well. You know, you find a lot of guys can go quick for 10 or 15 laps, and it's not physically that makes them start to go slow. It's mentally they wear out, and that's all part and parcel of the deal. And that's why I think Tander, for his age, is very, very good. And come to that Craig Lowndes.
Now we're getting word through from the pits that there are spots of rain in pit lane, so that could really change the complexion of this race. And Wayne Wakefield's demise was brought on by an electrical fire under the bonnet. Craig Lowndes now all over the back of Glenn Seaton on the exit of Brabham Straight. Tander has opened up a handy lead for himself. Look at that, a good 6 or 7 car lengths, maybe even more. And we are on lap 13 of 78. The 23-year-old leads the way.
Now look at this.
10 laps down to the Clipsal 500 as we see Tander making a run.
Nice, smooth move. Perfect. You know, nicely controlled. So you're not all locked up and sideways or anything.
The thing about Tander too, his approach is very cool because he says he doesn't really care if he doesn't win one race, if he takes the championship. He said consistency is how you win this thing. And he said the proof in the pudding would be if he did win the championship without winning one race. So he's not really worried about that.
I think you can add to that too, Mark. It's not just his performance behind the wheel. Exactly what you're saying. It's what he's like outside the car. There's no massive ego. There's just a very level-headed approach to his racing. He just gets on, does the job, and knows the sort of hectic commitments that are required outside the car when you're a racing driver. Gets on and does them, and does them quite happily.
This is the battle for second position. Tander has bolted away 2.1 seconds the gap. And they're getting very close to that pit window where these teams can perform 2 of those compulsory pit stops. 1 for tyres, 1 for fuel. This battle for second rushes past the stranded Wayne Wakefield Commodore through speed stick turn. Lowndes, look at the way that car's riding the bumps. He can place it anywhere. Holden Racing Team chassis is just such a confident thing. You can see the way these drivers can take it to the limit. They can place it anywhere on the track. The car working beautifully.
Talking about the drivers, you know, I reckon every one of them is a real credit to their sport. You know, that's why the sport's come on so well. That everyone, the top to the bottom, they're all 100% approachable. They're an absolute credit to their sport. And there's a lot of other sports that can learn a lot from their attitude.
Seaton, who you're riding with at the moment in the Ford Limit. FTR Falcon, his teammate Neil Crompton now up to 23rd, giving you an idea of the progress of some of the other guys that started off the back of the grid today. Russell Ingle, the enforcer, has muscled his way up to 15th. Mark Scaife to 16th. Mark Larkham is in 24th. The Rat, 24th rather. The Rat has fought back to be in 21st position, and Larry Perkins is in 20th.
You see it so often in Paul Radisich when he's in a situation he's ready to pounce. There's always something seems to happen. We saw the top 10 run off in qualifying for the race. They had an ignition failure and the engine shut down, but he's heading out for his hot lap. Now he's worked his way up to a strong 5th position yesterday, but he got turned around on the first lap. Now he's got to do it all over again.
It's a sort of a repeat story. I mean, last year he came from the back so many times. Quite incredible.
Oh,
Stephen Ellery.
Well, they've had a rotten bit of luck. Yesterday, Stephen was running quite consistently in the top 15. The car went out with some sort of misfire. They tracked it down to a grub screw in the car's distributor. Can you believe it? By the time the mechanics had got in and found what the problem was, he'd lost a ton of time. They fixed the car for today, but it looks like the drama's continuing in the Super Cheap Autos car.
Well, we're being told too the car is actually being pushed back into its garage, so whatever problems are there, it's going to be quite a lengthy stop in the pits for him. This battle rages between Greg Murphy, Jason Bargwanna and John Faulkner, 5th, 6th and 7th place respectively. Now keep in mind the Kmart Commodores are going very well at the moment. Last year they were running in Wins livery, and both Murphy and Richards took victory on the mountain. They've got more horsepower this year. They're still really to refine the handling package on these cars, but when it comes to endurance races, they're on it. And Stephen Richards sits in 4th, Greg Murphy in 5th.
Scafie and Ingle now 13 and 14.
Yeah, Murphy's a driver who competes with great heart, doesn't he? One of the great competitors. When he knows he's got a competitive car under him, he is one of the fastest guys out there. 27-year-old from Hastings, New Zealand. Tremendously successful driver with the Holden Racing team. He shared that great double with Craig Lowndes back in 1996. Grant Denyer.
Well, Stephen Ellery unfortunately has to retire because he has cooked the back left brake system. If you look in the wheel, which you won't be able to see here, but inside the wheel is absolutely charcoal. They had to bring the fire marshals on hand just in case it did break out into a fire, but it is red hot and it's just burnt right through. So they've had to pull out and they've got to have a look at it, but they don't think they're getting back in. And if I could just throw in another factor, it's raining down here at pit lane, guys, and they're quite heavy drops too, I might add.
Well, it's funny you say that, Grant, because looking out of the in-car of Mark Larkham, who's fighting his way through the field, you can see quite clearly rain on the windscreen.
Thomas Mazzero up ahead. Mark Larkham, one of the fast drivers down the back, trying to get his way through after problems in race 1. There's Neil Crompton, lights ablaze in the second of the FTR Falcons. Larkham in there, Thomas Mazzero. So there's some real quality charging through from the back of the pack. Mazzero goes for the inside line under brakes, and he gets Crompton too. So Mazzero on the charge in the Denseltron machine.
Things are changing in terms of the feel of this circuit. The teams are already going for wet weather tyres, apparently, just in case. From our position here in the commentary box, you can see the rain falling.
I'll tell you what, you've got to look at the lap times too, because they've dropped 2 seconds over the last couple.
Paul Morris giving Cameron McConville a bit of a serve, and in behind him there. No, that's Larry Perkins.
I think it was Paul Radicic.
Yeah.
Radicic giving Larry the turnaround. Seen from very high above the circuit. Let's have a look at this from another angle. And I don't think the camera's on.
Look at those two, like magnets.
Yeah, we're not going to see it here. But from that overhead shot, it looked like the Shell Ford gave the Castrol car a bit of a tap. Everyone taking evasive action.
Including Ashby, McLean, Larkham and Neil Crompton as well. Crompton picked that one very early.
The lap times have really pumped out. They're out to 1 minute 29 when they started on 1:27s. Windscreen wipers are going now. And the field's starting to bunch up. Stephen Richards getting caught by his teammate Greg Murphy. So the battle for 4th is really hotting up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars involved now. And they're going to be climbing all over each other very, very soon.
They're second place at the moment, or third place I should say. Craig Lowndes chasing Glenn Seaton. And your leader is Garth Tander in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. The gap between Tander and Seaton, 3.1 seconds. There you can see it quite visibly as they come through centre chicane.
1:29.14 for Garth Tander. Picking on his fastest lap from this race was lap 5 at 1:27.16. So effectively slowed it down 2 seconds a lap. We are getting spots of rain falling all over the place. So whether this is going to settle in, things treacherous, only God knows. We just heard from the pits there's a stop-go penalty for Paul Radicic. We saw that from our overhead shot when he bumped into the Castrol Commodore of Larry Perkins and turned him around. So Radicic now must serve a stop-go penalty. Look how close Faulkner is behind Bargwanna. He's really working him over.
Bargwanna is using all of the track and then some too. Bargwanna is under pressure, no doubt about it, in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Here comes Faulkner down the Adelaide Straight. He has a look, but he's not going to be close enough in the Asia Online Commodore towards Speed Stick Turn. Jason Bargwanna, 27 years of age, being hounded by the former NASCAR ace, John Faulkner. And look there, that's a great shot of just how much rain is falling as they come down hard into brakes at the end of Brabham Straight. At this stage, it's a waiting game. Do they come in and change tyres, or do they stick it out in the hope this brief shower will blow over?
Well, the key thing is with these slick tyres, you really don't need to change tyres unless the track is actually cooling. It's got puddles on it, because otherwise a slick tyre when the track's warm and the tyre's warm is still very effective, and it can be raining quite heavily. But when the race track actually starts getting wet, starts getting a slick surface, that's when these tyres can start to aquaplane and you're in all sorts of trouble.
The pit window is open, folks. Keep that in mind. Between lap 15 and 57, there are 2 mandatory pit stops. Now, we're just getting word from the pits. Mark Poole is out of the car. He has apparently collapsed. He had massive back problems in the lead up to today's second race in the John Deere Commodore, and that's rotten luck for him. Barry?
Yeah, I reckon what they might do, if the rain gets a bit harder, I reckon they're going to stick the safety car out for sort of 5 or 6 laps just to suss out what the situation is. And if you think about it, that'd be a sensible thing to do, because I've noticed they've moved the safety car. That will be a lot more sensible than everybody coming in, because it doesn't look like it's going to be a massive downpour, because it's sort of passing over. So if they whack the safety car out, if it rains sort of 6 or 7 laps, then it's going to save a lot of people a lot of aggro.
Oh, look at this challenge for second position. Craig Lowndes coming right alongside number 5, Glenn Seaton in the FTR Falcon. So Lowndes really getting a move on now, putting lots of pressure on the Ford driver. And Seaton fighting a lone hand here. He's in second position. Tander's up ahead in another Commodore. He's got another Commodore breathing down his neck. And behind Lowndes is Richards, Murphy, Bargwanna, Faulkner, all in Commodores. Bow, the next Ford in line, back in 8th position. So Seaton is really fighting a lone hand here at the moment.
Bit of a flash of lightning and some thunder here around the streets of Adelaide. Thunder coming from the V8 Supercars, but also from the skies above. In 17th at the moment is Paul Radisich in the Shell Helix Ford. Now, he has been black flagged, or told to come in rather, for a stop-go penalty for that altercation with Larry Perkins, but he's yet to do it. The team are radioing to him to tell him to come in for that stop-go, and we should see him in very shortly.
You can see that rain coming down. Barry's said that may just move on. Garth Tander, though, continues to lead 2.3 seconds up the road from this battle. Seaton and Lowndes, Stephen Richards a little bit further back. That's Murphy, Bargwanna, Faulkner, and John Bow, the next of the Fords.
And it's Stephen Johnson, Tony Longhurst, Craig Baird and Mark Scape, Russell Ingle, Todd Kelly, McConville sitting well in 15th place, and Paul Morris in 16th.
Paul Radisich, Cameron McLean, Thomas Mazira. But watch Radisich. He's going to come in for a stop-go penalty soon. More after the break.
Traffic jam in the pits here as the Clipsal 500 finds yet another way to excite us. The rain has forced them in for wet tyres, all kinds of strategies and dramas into play. Greg Rust and Mark Osler.
Less than 12 cars came in, and they all keep filing in. Here's Garth Tander in action. Some wets being thrown on the Valvoline Cummins Commodore.
Craig Lowndes is still out there. I haven't seen him come into the pit yet. He's out there on slick tyres still. Everyone's gone for wets. So by the time we get this fold over, or the overlap I should say, it's going to be a very interesting situation. Garth Tander, here comes Craig Lowndes now. Well, here's the tyre stop. You can see the rain pelting down on the streets of Adelaide. We've actually got thunderclaps above us as a thunderstorm has hit. Wet tyres going onto Lowndes' car as well. Really, at the moment, you couldn't put anything but wets back on. It's getting quite slippery out there. Lap times pumped out 4 or 5 seconds before the car started coming in. How long is this rain going to last? The sky looks a bit patchy. It could just be a big cloud hanging over the track right at the moment. In 5 laps, it could be dry again. Who knows?
Now, Garth Tander has gotten in front of him courtesy of that pit stop. Look at Lowndes sideways through the centre chicane on wets. But Tander is ahead of him. So Tander retains the lead on the ice rink.
Oh, look at how difficult it is to get that car to turn into the corner. These tyres are stone cold. You're not allowed to use tyre warmers in V8 Supercar racing. The track temperature has come right down with the rain, and look at them struggling with that, trying to get the power to the ground. Shell Helix replay. That's Gary Holt, one of the Konica V8 light privateers.
This is where Mark Scape went off last year. Bang.
Well, I wonder if they're going to... I don't know whether he's been able to back out of there. Here's a classic example of a slick tyre being run in wet conditions. And now they want to put one of these fully grooved wet weather tyres onto the car, just like the road tyres you have on your road car. They work with the same system, those big grooves there. Push all the water away and give you some grip. And then you could not go to anything but that fully grooved tyre in these conditions. Mark Larkham rejoins the battle.
The drivers are being told to put their red safety lights on inside the car. They're the rear ones.
Another Shell Helix replay where you can imagine the drama out here. Look at the Gatorade car. Peter Dillman understeering straight off at speed stick turn. Off. Into the tyres. Fortunately, looks like minimal damage. Hopefully he got back to the pits. But very, very treacherous conditions out there at the moment. These cars are on cold, wet weather tyres. The track's quite cold as well, so it takes a few laps to try and get some sort of temperature into them. When you're juggling about 600 horsepower through the rear wheels, a car that weighs 1,350 kilograms, it's not very responsive to steering input. Look at Tander still wrestling with his car.
Oh, that's It's Dean Canto. Dean Canto's had a moment there.
Now, I just wonder if they're going to call the safety car out soon. These conditions getting very, very heavy. If they've been asked to switch on their rear red warning lights, there's a good shot of the visibility, boys.
That's at the front of the Kmart Commodore of Greg Murphy's. How can he see?
Well, that's on the side where the windscreen wiper isn't operative, but the red lights are on the backs of the cars. You can just see it there on the back of Lowndes' car. It's a very powerful beam which can shine through this mist and spray, and it warns the driver behind that they are approaching. It's been a good addition to the safety aspects of these cars. Barry Sheen.
Yeah, there's a bit of a touch there. Yeah, I'm just apparently a lot of the drivers are saying the visibility is diabolical, and you can see there the surface walls of the HRT cars coming down there. You remember in the Formula One, Adelaide never did drain too well, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if they did stick the safety car out. You know, as you can tell by my weather forecasting, I'll never get a job at that, will I? But the visibility is really pretty bad.
Unfortunately, these days, the V8 Supercars have a heated front windscreen. You can just see the little elements in the glass there on the Mitre 10 car. They discovered this problem at Bathurst several years ago before they ran these heated screens. The water was pouring inside the cars, and as we know, the floor pan of the car gets very hot. So it was effectively like sitting inside a kettle. There was so much steam coming up, it was fogging up all the windows. So as a safety precaution, the teams now run heated front and rear windscreens. But look at the difficulty Paul Radicic is having. You can just see what a tough assignment it is, trying to get 600 horsepower to the ground through cold tyres, trying to get the car to turn into the corners, equally tough.
Now, Russell Ingall, for those of you who have been keeping an eye on the progress of some of the guys who started from the back up to 10th place, Mark Scapers moved up to 8th place. So there are some real shakers and movers in this field at the moment in the wet conditions around Adelaide.
Look at the pools and puddles around there, Rusty. This is like a swimming pool at the moment.
Cast your mind back many years ago in the old F1 days here, and scenes of the late great Ed and Senna waving madly, trying to bring one of the races to a halt, because it was just like this, an absolute deluge of water. Radicic is apparently radioing to his pit. We've been able to overhear some of the conversations between Paul and team manager Dean Orr, and he's been saying that he cannot see a thing. Here's a shot of the Rat in action.
Barry Holt, you just saw him crunch into the tyres. Turn 12 a couple of laps ago. He's just trying to limp around. Oh, Radicic gives him a tap as well. Holt right up the middle of the road. Radicic wants to keep things moving. Holt just getting hit by that. There's the colour scan Falcon of Matthew Coleman. He's gone exactly where Holt went. So there's cars spearing off all over the place. I wonder what race officials are going to do under this situation. Let's have a look at that.
Now, that's a big no-no by the looks of things. He's gotten up on the curbs and then understeered. Straight off, Faulkner's gone off as well.
Too. Now, I wonder if Faulkner managed to get out of there. I think he's pulled it up before the kiddie litter, but he's managed to hopefully reverse it back onto the track. Barry.
There's so much surface water now. I feel they've got to bring the safety car out, because now, you know, guys have gone out on wets. They're struggling to get any sort of temperature in there. And if you look at the circuit, the surface water is really, it gets to the stage where it's not braveness, it's stupidity, you know, because you just can't see where you're going, and all of a sudden you're flat out down the straight and the thing just turns around in the middle of the straight. So I feel they should really put the safety car out.
Now, the interesting thing, Baz, we just heard from the Shell pit that Radicic has radioed in and said, are you sure you put wet weather tyres? It feels like slicks.
Well, you can't get any temperature in them. You know, you sort of turning the thing in, scrubbing it in at the front, and all it does is just go straight on an understeer.
All the racing team is probably going to get their compulsory fuel stop out of the way. Only about 180 litres needed, so they'll just put the minimum amount of fuel required to get this car to the finish. Jeff Brett, team manager there, watching the stop, making sure he gets out nice and cleanly. The safety car is standing by. Yellow flags are out.
Yellow.
Safety car will be on the circuit.
Still sitting at the end of pit lane at the moment. Mark Scaife now coming in. Now, this is probably quite a good tactical move from the Holden Racing team. They're completing both the stops so that if it does clear up here in Adelaide, they've got to come in for another tyre stop. At least their mandatory stops have been completed.
Okay, they are going to bring the safety car out on the track. He's just sitting at the end of pit lane here, waiting for the leader to come through. He'll pick up the leader and get the cars to form an orderly queue behind. You can just see Mark Scaife driving out. The safety car is just sitting in on the exit to pit lane. Now, it looks like the rain has actually backed off a little bit. was a real deluge, like a big dark cloud came right over Adelaide and just dumped it all in one hit. Hopefully, that cloud will move on and we can get back to some racing. Another replay. Shell Helix replay, Radicic. Wow, he was just saying he couldn't believe they put wet weather tyres. They feel still like slicks. It's so slippery out there. And there's the proof of the pudding. Let's hope the rat kept it off the walls. Yes, indeed. So let's go to Barry again.
Yeah, you see there, Ingle just coming out of the pits. He came in simply just to have the windscreen cleaned on the inside. You know, it was really misted up very badly, and I shouldn't think he could see where he was going at all, you know, so I don't know whether he's got a problem with his electric screen, but as you were saying, the temperature in there, it produces a lot of steam, and it's not a nice thing. Look at the surface water there. At last.
The Monroe safety car. Severe thunderstorms and flooding is the official forecast from the Weather Bureau, so this may be the first of a long line of downpours.
Well, at least they got it right for a change.
Look at the damage to the front of the Greenfield Mowers Falcon in behind the safety car there, so Cameron McLean has had a moment as well.
Well, just have a look as it all slows down, the puddles across the circuit, and you know, especially you get one of those when you're on the brakes just as you're about to turn into the corner. It just starts the thing understeering, and then once it starts you can't stop it, so it's a wise move to put the car out, safety car.
Yeah, exactly. So the Monroe safety car.
And what it's done now, the guys have just got some temperature into their wets, and now they're following around the safety car, so they lose all the temperature again. But there you go.
Grant?
I feel like a Dodgem car, but lucky I'm not, because I would have been electrocuted by now. I can tell you, Rodney Forbes has parked the car because he doesn't have a working windscreen wiper. It hasn't worked all weekend because of an earlier shunt during the weekend. Now, he's been coping up until now, but he just says, no, I can't cope anymore, I can't see. They're coming in and they're now working on it, so that's unfortunate.
Glad you removed your rain jacket there, Grant.
I wish.
It's been a busy weekend for the Winds Commodore team. They had an engine change this morning after a blow-up in the practice session, and Rodney was unfortunately involved in an altercation with Greg Murphy in the other Gibson Motorsport Commodore, but that one, of course, with the Kmart livery, and Murphy was slugged with a 10-point fine because of that altercation overnight, and they've had a lot of work to do to the Winds Commodore, and it's lucky to be here racing today. They worked until 3 a.m. in the morning.
Safety car pulls offline. He's letting the field come through. He went waiting for our race leader, Garth Tander, to come up and be the first car in the queue. And they're a hardy bunch, these V8 Supercar fans. Rain's not going to put them off. They come prepared for anything.
Here we go, folks. We'll run right through the field for you as the rain continues to fall on the streets of Adelaide. Tander from Bargwana, the two teammates top of the table. Then it's Murphy, Lowndes, Seaton, Bow, Stephen Johnson, and Mark Scape is now from the back of the grid up into 8th place.
Yeah, good charge by the Holden Racing team driver, Tony Longhurst, John Faulkner, Craig Baird, who's gone down a lap, Stephen Richards, Russell Ingle, Cameron McLean, Cameron McConville, and Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Ford.
Trevor Ashby, Paul Radicic still there in 18th place, car 18, despite its spin. Neil Crompton in 19th, and it's Perkins, Wheel, Todd Kelly, Nick Donaher in the Ultra-Tune TDK Racing Commodore, and Anthony Tratt.
Thomas Mazira, Dean Canto, one of the Konica V8 Lights competitors, Paul Morris, Peter Dillman, Dougal McDougall, Chris Smurden, Alan Heath, and Gary Holt a long way down.
Rodney Forbes in the garage. Matthew Coleman has been involved in a spin. Wayne Wakefield is out of today's action here in Adelaide. Trust you're enjoying the action. Stay with us.
The Clipsal 500 underwater, at least temporarily. Massive downpour of rain here in Adelaide has forced this race to slow under the safety car. However, smart tactics perhaps from HRT, both cars pitting while the wet weather tyres were on. Now, the chat room, we had a marvellous afternoon yesterday. Neil Crompton and myself, thank you very much to all the people who responded, and there were many of them. So please do it again as Greg Rust and Mark Scafe slip into the hot seats. There are the times for Perth viewers, 3:30 p.m. and Eastern Time on the left of your screen. And that's the website for the live chat room later today. Lots to talk about from this event, as you might recall, and it was a lot of fun yesterday.
An eerie feeling sitting here in the commentary box, Billy, because to one side of it, we've got, to the northern end of it, if you like, we've got a bit of blue sky and some, it's clearing, if you like, between the clouds, and it's quite grey. further down the other end. There's the view from our chopper, and we're being told that from the north it will clear, so hopefully these showers will go away. Let's go down trackside, Grant.
Yeah, I'm here with John Briggs, the team manager of John Bow's car. We know what it looks like on the television, but how are the drivers feeling about being out there at the moment?
John's saying that he can't see a thing at the present time. The front demister's failed, and we've just made up a little stick with a rag on it, which we're going to hand to him when we pit. He can get some of the demist off himself. It's treacherous out there at the present time.
So will he do that during the pit stop, or is he going to take it with him around the circuit?
He'll actually take it with him. That's the plan at this stage.
Well, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm down here with Jeff Greck, team manager for HRT. So what's happening then, Jeff? Have you done your fuel, your tyres? What have you done?
Barry, we got the car in twice, and we've done our compulsory tyres and fuel. And at the moment, the way the weather's looking, I mean, I think I'm Grant Hackett. You'd be better off being a swimmer than a driver.
So what's the situation? They're taking, when you come in to stick the wets on, that's your compulsory stop?
Yes, because it was in the window of your compulsory stop. So, you know, I think as far as our two cars up that front route, we're the only one that have done the two stops. So, providing we just tippy toe around and don't do anything silly, we're looking in not a bad position for the end of the race.
And what's Craig said? Have you heard anything from him?
Oh, well, he said it's wet in the car. No, he said it's just absolutely treacherous out there. I mean, the safety car was the ideal thing to do. And it's just, you know, there's rivers across the thing, so hopefully now the safety car is there. It'll just slow everyone around and slow everyone down, and you know, be no serious accidents.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Okay, thanks, Barry.
The great irony in all that is that Barry Sheen looked completely dry, and Jeff Gregg looked incredibly wet. Now, just commenting further to what Jeff was saying there, both Lowndes and Scaife have done their tyres and their fuel. Paul Morris is the only one to have completed both his stops, and Alan Heath is another to have done the same. Everybody else is still yet to stop, if you like, for their mandatory stop for fuel.
Yeah, it should be very interesting if the track dries out too, because all these blokes are going to have to come in, including HRT, to go to slick tyres. So we've got a lot more activity, a lot more drama to come from pit lane this afternoon.
Perhaps a bit of a gamble there on the part of some of the other teams who are anticipating coming in once more as this track dries out. We'll take a break and come back with more action for the Clipsal 500. But the pools are still there.
Monroe's safety car continuing to lead the field around. It's a very wet circuit, but it is drying. You can see there the pools are starting to, pools of water are starting to clear away. So hopefully it won't be too much longer before we're underway in racing. Word from the Bureau is that the storms will clear and should hopefully stay away for the duration of this race. Don't forget, of course, right here on your home of motorsport, the World Superbike Championship coming your way, round 2 at Phillip Island at Easter.
That'll be a marvellous event. And the Shell Championship Series 4th round is at Eastern Creek. Back to the sprints. April 30, 3 to 5 p.m. right after RPM. More great motorsport coming your way on Network 10. Plenty of points on offer right here in Adelaide.
So the cars still stay in single file.
Howard Marston.
The safety car leading them around. Ford doing well in this event. Now, someone who's very happy about that, no doubt, is Howard Marston. He's with Barry Sheen.
Howard, I'm sure you must be a little bit happier so far this weekend.
Yes, haven't the boys done a good job? Adelaide's let us down a little bit, all this wonderful sunshine they normally give us. So that's giving an interesting input to the racing from that side. But Glenn's really got his dander up. He's had a couple of bad events, obviously. He's worked very hard. He's got a good setting with the car. He's driving well. He's very determined. It's a very competitive business, as you know. And every so often, even the good blokes have to get a little bit deeper, pull out a little bit more. Exactly what Glenn's doing at the moment.
Someone was saying that the new Bridgestones has really helped the balance of the car.
Yes, it has. There was a difference between the Commodore and the Falcon with that type of suspension in the previous tyres, and in fact they were able to maintain a temperature in the tyre. Now, people must understand that this rubber only works at a particular temperature difference, so the Commodores could arrive at a corner, right temperature, turn in, grip's good. Falcons weren't quite so good. I think that's gone away, which is excellent. Glenn has dropped in on a setting which is better than the other Falcons, and I must say that my wish is that rather than have any one of our Falcons up at any one time, it's been Radicic previously, 2 or 3 of the boys up there holding hands together and give those other people really hard time.
Good. Nice to see you smile again, Al.
Thank you very much indeed.
Puts it so eloquently, doesn't he? Imagine all the Ford drivers holding hands and being good little boys.
I just hope he hasn't spoken a little too soon, though, Mark, because a place like Adelaide is quite tight and tricky, and it's not like, say, Eastern Creek, where we're going to for the next round, a very different situation there. So we'll keep an eye on the progress. These new Bridgestone tyres, though, the drivers have given them the thumbs up. So we go trackside. Grant Daniel.
How's that, mate? Ritzy? I'm not really a hat type.
I'm down here with Gary Rogers. First and second, you must be a very heavy man.
There's a long way to go yet. In these conditions, anything can happen. I mean, yeah, we've done it all right so far, but we're not counting our chickens yet.
We've had word that Barguana's going to come in straight after the pit, after the pace car pulls off.
Yeah, when the pace car pulls off, we'll get him in pretty well straight away and do his fuel stop, then he's out of the way. And with Tander in the front at the moment, our options are better to leave him there. Obviously, there'll be less spray if he can stay at the front.
Thanks, Gary.
Gary, get ready, because the lights are out on the Munro safety car, so we are getting ready to go racing around the streets of Adelaide once again. Garth Tander will bring the field back through Mistral Turn, and hopefully we will get a green light and things will be underway once again in the Clipsal 500. The run to the finish. Race 2, a 250k sprint, and we are under very wet conditions here at the moment. Do we get the green? Indeed we do. We are back underway. Tander leading the field around the ice rink that is Adelaide.
45 laps to go in race 2 of the Clipsal 500. Oh, very close there as the cars try and squeeze their way through this very narrow funnel, the centre chicane up Wakefield Street. Braking hard in very slippery, wet conditions. They swing hard right down toward Flinders Street. It looks like everyone behaving themselves. I know they've got a long way to go. No one wants to get any damage on this first lap. Anthony Trapp running a little bit wide on the Toll Falcon. Here's our race leader, Garth Tander. You heard his team manager before saying he's going to bring him in pretty quickly after Jason Barguana. So he wants to get these compulsory pit stops out of the way. They've all got to be completed before lap 57, so still a bit of time.
Word through is they're going to try and keep Garth Tander out for at least another 5 laps before they contemplate making that stop for fuel. They have done the stop for tyres, but both Valvoline Cummins Commodores have yet to do their fuel stop. Look at this. Jason Barguana menacing the back of what looked like Paul Wheel from our helicopter shot there. They work down the Brabham Straight. There's Larry Perkins in the foreground as well. And in behind there, Craig Lowndes, car 1, the defending champion and winner of race 1 here yesterday.
Looks like the rain is starting to clear. It's not raining anymore. It's just the amount of water that's sitting on the circuit now. And traditionally, this Adelaide street circuit hasn't drained that well. We saw that back in the Formula 1 days. That's going to take quite a while for these cars to clear. With all these cars running on the Adele racing line, it won't take long for these big wet weather tyres to squeegee the water away. We'll be running in virtually dry conditions, but that presents its own problem.
Jason Barguana coming into the pits, so this will be no doubt for his stop for fuel. He's yet to do a stop for tyres, Bargs. In fact, he's done tyres rather, yes, so this hopefully will be for fuel.
Yeah, get Bargs out of the way, then he's going to bring Tander in at a later stage. But the trouble for these guys is that the Holden Racing team have made both of their compulsory stops. Grant Daniel.
Yeah, Barks has just pulled in. In fact, Glenn Seaton has also pulled in. They're having some troubles with his drink fountain. They're trying to get it in to refill it so he can keep refreshed. Barguana just pulled in. That was a rather quick stop. Bit of damage on the front, but he looks quite healthy, Barry.
Refueling underway on the Seaton car. So he's made his fuel stop. Oh, he was held up Ingle too. Been pretty angry there in the Perkins pit. Ingle was sitting there waiting for the FTR car to come out. Pretty tight pit lane. All sorts of chaos down there as everyone's trying to pit. An advantage under the green flag conditions. Every second crucial. And look at this Barguana off the inside of the Mitre 10 Ford of Mark Larkham. There's one of the Kmart Commodores, Stephen Richards. They're all coming in as we return to green flag racing conditions.
Long stop there by the looks of things, Mark, for Russell Ingle. I think he came in early in the piece and he's come out behind that group of 5 on the exit of pit lane. They work away around the streets of Adelaide once again. Lap 35 of 78. Tony Longhurst and Paul Radicic. Craig Baird in behind there as well. There's Stephen Richards, John Faulkner in the Asia Online Commodore. Garth Tander leads the way at the moment from Lowndes. Murphy sits in third.
Now, the interesting thing is all these cars going around on the ideal racing line, they're going to squeegee all the water out of the way. You'll eventually have a dry line forming. That means that anyone who's out there on wets, and that's every car, is going to have to come in and change to slick tyres. So, you can see how difficult it is. Paul Radisich trying to turn into the corner. The car virtually going straight ahead. Can be very, very careful while these tyres are cold. They've got very little grip. These cars weigh over 1.3 tonnes, so you've got to be very careful in these opening laps. Even though you're under a lot of pressure, here comes Gary Holt. Saw him limping around after that crash earlier in the race. So it's just going very, very slowly.
For those of you at home wondering just what the difference is when you're driving in conditions like this to the lap times that Garth Tander was doing before. He was doing 1:27s early in this race. His last lap around a 1:43.903. Look at this from Gary Holt in all sorts of bother with the front right.
Yeah, well, I think the front suspension has collapsed after that altercation with the wall.
Yeah.
The wheels just jammed under that right guard. Grant Denyer.
Try and come back to Grant there. And as I was mentioning, in the dry, Tander was doing 1:27s. In the wet, 1:43. So a difference of some 16 seconds. Grant?
I'm ready when you are.
Grant Denyer.
Yeah, what was interesting in that rush of pit stops was that the Valvoline team spotted the Kmart team with 8 people working on the car at one time. And, of course, that is illegal, guys.
We'll have to keep an eye on that and just what sort of action is taken. Now,
just heard from the pits that Russell Ingall's going to be shown the black flag. Now, apparently, we haven't confirmed this, but apparently he put some fuel into the car when he came in for that tyre stop. And even though some of the teams have been confused, the rule is black and white on that. You cannot refuel when you're changing your tyres, regardless of whether it's a compulsory stop or not. Barry Sheen.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're bringing Russell in because it's leaking fuel. I just got just a quick word with one of the guys, but he's due to be coming in now. Just hang on a second, let me ask. What they bringing in?
Well, the word is that he's being shown.
Yeah, it's okay. They're going to try not to bring him in because the O-ring on the lock-off valve, as you put the fuel in the car, has just sort of come unseated and it's leaking a little bit of fuel.
He was being shown that flag, so we'll keep an eye on it. Stephen Richards at the moment in the Kmart Commodore continues with this battle. John Faulkner has gotten around Craig Baird, and you can see Russell Ingall just tucked in behind them, lap 37 of 78.
So the top 10 starting to settle down now. It's Tander, Lowndes, Murphy, John Bowe, Mark Skate up to 5th now, so he's charging in the Holden Racing Team car. Faulkner just ducks up the inside. Bargwanna, McConville doing well in the Auto Pro machine. Mark Larkup, Cameron McLean. Here comes Russell Ingall. Some problem with the fuel system. Fuel leaking, apparently. So that's not a stop Russell would have liked. What's going to go on here? Yeah, some problem. The leaking O-ring on the fuel dry brake system. Barry.
It's a little Mickey Mouse thing. It's nothing really there. That's got like 3 little spindles it slides in on, and what can happen, it can just tilt a little bit sideways and the O-ring doesn't seat properly, and all really you have to do is just whack it with your index finger and it seals it off, and that's that. But it's a pain in the backside that you have to waste all that time coming in for it.
Certainly would have been a frustrating exercise for Russell Ingall, the enforcer, who started from the rear today, and as you can see by that aggressive driving style in the Castrol Commodore, look at it understeering there and oversteering now, so it's a real handful in the wet conditions at Adelaide.
See the enormous amount of negative camber on the front wheels of that car. That is the angle of the wheels make perpendicular to vertical when you look at the car from front on. That extreme angle there. The tyre's actually lifting up on the side. What that does is, when the car's in its cornering situation and it's generating cornering force, the tyre actually sits nice and flat. Oh, there's a problem there. Matt Coleman is having a difficult drive today in these slippery conditions. He hasn't had a lot of time in V8 Supercars, so it's a big ask. Here's Crompton coming in for his fuel stop. Car 6, he was making good progress early in the race. So hopefully he can get a good result if they get this one out cleanly. to the pit stop, the duration down in the lower left of your screen. 18 seconds. So Crompton gets back. This should be the last of his scheduled stops, but as I say, if the track dries out, everyone's going to be coming in for dry weather tyres.
Garth Tander is your leader on lap 38 of 78 from Craig Lowndes, who won yesterday. Murphy in third place and John Bowe in fourth. We'll take a closer look on the Shell Helix replay at this big moment for Matthew Coleman in the colour scan Falcon, and that car is sporting plenty of battle scars this weekend. He's done, goodness me, more than a 360.
Well, he's just been shown the black flag, car 22. Just down here at the start-finish line. Look at this battle, though. Craig Lowndes comes up the outside of Garth Tander. This is a challenge for the lead. He's in front.
Tander comes back at him. Look at this. And Larry Perkins is in front. So this is going to make it very interesting. It's still raining.
Lowndes sneaks up the inside of the Valvoline Cummins car. Larry Perkins with the spoiler in the pack there. Tander had nowhere to go. He's stuck right up behind the bumper of the Castrol machine. Lowndes took advantage.
And this is the battle for the lead. The word is Garth Tander is going to be called into the pits this time around by his team.
Well, other than fingers crossed, there's another safety car period, because he's going to dump a ton of time on Lowndes when he's got to come in. It was good strategy by the Holden Racing team to get those two compulsory stops out of the way while there was all that drama going on. The rain was coming down and people coming in and out of the pits. Least amount of damage. Larry Perkins wants a slice of this action, though.
He may be 50 years of age, but he's driving with the youth of the two behind him, or youthfulness, I should say, the two behind him. Tander 23 and Lowndes 25.
Well, Larry's probably fighting to stay on the lead lap here. In fact, he is. If these two get in front of him, he's going to go down a lap, so it's worth him fighting and trying to open up a bit of a gap, but he's got a hell of a task. Perkins sitting back in 19th position. If you have a look at the rain, it's actually started again. Look at the tippy-toeing going on here. Here goes Garth Tander. Former race winner heads into pit lane to complete his compulsory stop. So Tander, has strategy worked against the Gary Rogers team? Only time will tell. The Holden Racing team appear to have the upper hand at the moment. Lowndes has completed both his compulsory stops for tyres and fuel. Grant Denyer.
They're already ripped the fuel strip off. Of course, that's the most important thing. You'd hate to do two stops. Garth Tander, he's looking comfortable in the car. He's not wiping his eyebrows for sweat or anything like that. He's just having a quiet sip. The guys are putting the fuel in. His two cars are in. Murphy's also come in, almost a tap in the back of Tander's car, and he stalled it on the way out. And up he goes.
Now, the downside to that is that Tander came in ahead of Murphy, and Murphy has gone out ahead of Tander. So it's taken longer for the Gary Rogers Motorsport team to complete that stop than they would have liked. And Tander is now back out on the circuit. Craig Lowndes is your new leader from John Bowe, and Mark Scaife from the back of the grid. Can you believe it? Scaife, who has done both his mandatory stops, is doing very well. Look at Bargwanna sideways as they work up Wakefield Street for the right-hander, coming towards Flinders Street.
Well, I hope the Gary Rogers team have been doing their sums. We've just been playing around with a few figures here. We've figured out if Lowndes wins this race and Tander comes second, Tander will still lead the Shell Championship Series. And it just shows the consistency pays off in the Shell Championship of V8 Supercars. Barry Sheen.
It's really starting to rain hard again now. I wouldn't be at all surprised on a couple of laps the old safety car's going to have to go out again, because it's pouring down here in the pit lane. It's absolutely pouring.
Jason Bargwanna with a big charge, sure. Looking to make a big charge up the inside of his teammate.
Dougal up ahead here too in the Pepsi Commodore. Will he hold things up? No, he's gotten well and truly out of the way. Barks trying to dive down the inside. A bit of damage to the front of the 35 car, and he comes down on the inside of his teammate at the end of Brabham Straight. Bargwanna through on Tander. Tander fighting back though. And this is something that would be very nervous for Gary Rogers. He would not want either of his two drivers to become entangled with one another in these wet conditions. Radicic is again in trouble.
He's had a few spins today. Not coping with the conditions as well in the Shell Helix Ford. Bargwanna, better place to make a move on Tander there. That was sixth position he took away from the 23-year-old. But Bargwanna's tyres have a little bit more temperature. He's been out on the track longer than Tander. But Tander now will be trying to get up to speed. He'll want that position back for the teammates fighting over sixth position.
Stephen Johnson in for his stop for fuel in the Shell Helix Ford. He exits pit lane. You can see just how much rain is falling down there. Sun shining in parts of the circuit. It's a very eerie scenario here at Adelaide at the moment. Black clouds to one side, a little dry in others. This is the Shell Helix replay. Paul Radisich spinning. That's the aftermath of it.
He's been very lucky not to damage that car all day. He's had 2 or 3 spins, one on the opening lap, one in the wet conditions. Now he's had another one. Fortunately, no one has hit him, so he survives to fight. But gee, it's a tough ask out here. Rain coming down, the sun's shining off the circuit, the weather has gone absolutely crazy. Trying to pick these conditions must be a nightmare for the team managers.
Cameron McConville, who had been running inside the top 10 in the Auto Pro Commodore, has had a moment with someone. We believe he's got some sort of steering damage to that car, so we'll keep you up to speed on his progress. Look at the damage to those 2 AU Falcons. They have been in the wars today. Cameron McLean in the Greenfield Mowers Falcon, and the Colour Scan AU being driven, of course, by Matthew Coleman. Rodney Forbes returns to the pits as we check him out for you. Craig Lowndes leading from teammate Markscape, then it's John Bow. Greg Murphy doing good things in the Kmart Commodore from Bargwana and teammate Tander, Steve Johnson and Glenn Seaton.
Tony Longhurst, John Faulkner, Stephen Richards, Craig Baird, Neil Crompton, Paul Radisich, Mark Larkham and Russell Ingle back there in 16th.
McLean, Trevor Ashby, Perkins and Kelly. Yesterday it was Lowndes. Can he go on and do it again today in race 2? Stay with us.
Welcome back to the battle of the teammates as we see Trevor Ashby spinning off into the paddock there. The battle continues between the Valvoline Cummins teammates, Jason Bargwana and Garth Tander, and they are right up on the back of Greg Murphy, who was 3rd in this race behind Mark Scaife and the leader Craig Lowndes.
Shell Helix replay, and this is Junior Johnson, Steve Johnson. Had a good consistent run yesterday. Oh, look at the background there. Marshall's ducking out to try and pick some of that debris. Oh, he's gone over too. Gee, that's a dangerous situation, isn't it?
You're game doing that, aren't you?
Well, I'm not sure that was necessary to send him out. Very gallant, but not necessary. He could have tripped anywhere there with a car coming up on him. So I wouldn't recommend that.
These two continuing in their battle for 4th and 5th place. Bargwana and Tander honing in all the while on the Bathurst winner Greg Murphy, who sits in 3rd place in the Kmart Commodore.
Well, that was a great battle between the Valvoline Cummins cars. I'm sure it would have been something that gave Gary Rogers, the team manager, a lot of nervous moments. They were really biffing and barging. That's a little bit of damage on the front of Tander's car as a result of this cut thrust he had with his teammates. So Bargwana really on the charge in this battle for 3rd position between Murphy, Bargwana and Tander.
Barnes' car and Tander's car both sporting plenty of damage.
Now, word from the pits, it's sensational news. A black flag is going to be shown to Mark Scaife, apparently for speeding in pit lane. So he's fought his way all the way up from the back of the grid to 2nd position. Oh, there's Rodney Forbes. Oh. Gee, that was...
Just shows you how much water is down in the circuit, and when it hit the grass, it just kept travelling, didn't it?
Like he was out on a skating rink there. You could just see no control. He was a passenger, went straight across the grass. That car has had so many hits this weekend.
That's a very forgettable weekend for young Rodney Forbes. A blown engine this morning. Contact yesterday, a moment with Greg Murphy.
Well, here's the man who leads this race, Craig Lowndes. 11 seconds up the road from his teammate Mark Scaife, but as I said before, Scaife will be shown the black flag, apparently for speeding in pit lane. That's what we hear from the pits. So Lowndes, incredible luck this guy has with this street circuit. Just everything falls into his lap. His closest adversary, his teammate, is going to have to go in and serve a stop go. Here he is, Scaife, skidding past the Pepsi Commodore of Dougal McDougall. Lights ablaze. Scaife will be fuming. He's such a competitive animal, this guy, and he was so angry about that problem yesterday. A simple thing as a failed spark plug put him out of the running. He was desperate to try and get a taste of those 160 points here this afternoon, and he may well do a pretty good job, but this is going to cost him a lot of time.
Scaife, twice Shell Series champion and twice a winner on the mountain. He carries the number 2 plate on his car, but 2nd place is not where he wanted to be. He wants to win. This is going to cost him dearly. He peels off into pit lane. Mark Scaife in the Holden Racing Team Commodore.
Tell you what's going to be fascinating to watch here, Rusty, is the battle for 3rd between Murphy, Bargwana and Tander. That was about 16 seconds behind Scaife, so he's going to come out, hopefully, just in front of him. let's have a look. Barry Sheen. Okay, he served his stop-go penalty. Let's see where this battle for third is. As the camera goes wide.
Oh, no, there they are. So Scaife now will feel the pressure as they come through centre chicane for the first time. Murphy right in behind him. There's Tander and Bargwanna, and if you drop back through the field and look at some of the times, they are the fastest on the circuit at the moment. Bargwanna and Tander are doing 1 minute 42 second laps, so they are the quick guys, and Scaife will be feeling the pressure.
Yeah, well, he's enormously experienced, Mark Scaife. If he can control his temper, I assure you, from pit lane, he was not the happiest driver in the field when he was sitting there serving out his stop-go penalty, but now he's getting back up to speed, and he will not want to let Greg Murphy past in the Kmart Commodore, that's for sure.
They work now down the Adelaide straight. Car 12, the Kmart Commodore, in the hands of Greg Murphy. Just ahead of him is Mark Scaife, and then it's the two Valvoline Cummins Commodores, Bargwanna and Tander, tucked in behind him. Mark's very close now to the back of Murphy's car, a lap competitor. Whoa, look at this! Scaife runs wide where the tyres were through speed stick turn. Murphy with a sip of an opportunity, and he gets it. The Kmart Commodore down the inside at the end of Brabham Straight, forces Scaife wide. Bargwanna's there. Bargwanna trying to get through as well. He doesn't do it. Scaife shuts the door. And Tander, oh, look at that.
Bargwanna's driving everyone like a qualifier. He's got the tail hanging out at every corner. Mark Scaife now responding to that attack from Greg Murphy. And the two Valvoline Cummins Commodores sitting back there in the spray. This is a fantastic battle.
Into Mistral turn. Look at Murphy getting a little bit sideways under brake. Scaife trying to make a move down the inside, and the Kiwi shuts the door. Says, if you're going to do it, Scaife, you're going to do it the tough way. Scaife's through, though. Scaife's gotten through.
See the amount of traction that car had over that corner. He left up the inside of the Kmart car, fired out of the corner, left Murphy standing. So Murphy got that corner wrong. Scaife was leapt out of that turn, took advantage of that situation. Now he finds himself back in front of this battle for second position. It's Scaife ahead of Murphy. There's Bargwanna. Garth Tander.
Oh, Murphy under brakes. Oh, that is rotten luck. Near the end of Wakefield Straight, that's cost him 2 places in the Kmart Commodore. He was desperate to try and catch Scaife there. He'll be filthy with himself, the Kiwi.
Yeah, shaking his head. He's got the visor up. You don't need the visor now. The conditions are quite dark. Got the helmet over now. Bargwanna wants to have a go at Scaife. Let's see if Scaife can fend him off here. Bargwanna, lights ablaze. The front of both Valvoline Cummins Commodores crumpled from battle earlier in the race. Murphy now back. So this is second, third and fourth on the racetrack. Lowndes.
Look at Scaife again, monstering the curves. He's gone very wide there. Bargwanna won't get him as they come down to Brabham Straight. Keep in mind, while these four are going at it hammer and tong like this is only aiding Craig Lowndes' lead. He is 28 seconds ahead of teammate Mark Scaife at the moment. And this is the battle for second. Scaife, Murphy in the background, and the two Valvoline Cummins Commodores in between Bargwanna and Tander.
Well, this is a tremendous display of driving, isn't it? These enormously heavy, powerful cars in treacherous slipping conditions.
Oh, Bargwanna!
And they're driving like they're on a dry circuit, just ducking and diving. Oh, look at this! Tap. Gives Scaife a bit of a helping hand through the turn onto pit straight. And Bargwanna now ducks out of the draft, has a look, he goes inside, outside.
This is going to be nervous coming into centre chicane.
Scaife driving right up the middle of the road, as he's quite entitled to do so. Word from the pits is they're on the headsets to Scaife saying, cool it, fella. We don't want you ending up in the wall here, because we've got a long way to go, and this is a real on the knife edge battle. Garth Tander in behind his teammate. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay on board Murphy's car. And this is when he went straight on under brakes. Just managed to miss the back of the Holden Racing Team Commodore.
Classic understeer, isn't it? In the wet.
Let's have a look at this from another angle. Yeah, very, very close to the back of the Holden Racing Team car. Very hard to see too when you look at that camera inside. All sorts of mist and oil film all over the windows. So Scaife doing a great job here fending off these attacks from three adversaries. Oh, look at how much road he uses on the way out of there. Scaife was a supporter of having the tyres on that ripple strip, but he said, I'll tell you what, if they take those tyres away, it's going to turn it in from a third gear corner into a fourth gear corner. So Scaife now taking advantage of the fact after the tyres aren't there, using all the road and then some.
Gary Rogers these days is sporting a little bit of grey hair, and this will only be adding to that process. Tanda and Bargwanna continuing this battle. No doubt he'll be on the radio telling them to cool it a little bit as well. We've had a spin there, Peter Dillman in the Gatorade Commodore, and there you can see off to the inside. This is the battle for second place coming down on them. Scaife, Bargwanna, Tanda and Greg Murphy has closed the gap once again. So the four of them, the four Commodores running line astern. Here comes Bargwanna for the run towards the centre chicane. He's on the outside. Does he get him? He's got Scaife. He's got him. Scaife fights back though. Scaife takes it back off him.
This is brave stuff. This is really brave stuff. Incredible.
Whatever you do, don't leave us, folks. This is great battles going on here in Adelaide. Lowndes from Scaife, Bargwanna and Tanda. There you can see them. Greg Murphy in fifth. Then it's Bauer, Steve Johnson and Glenn Seaton in the FTR Falcon.
The Clipsal 500 has produced an absorbing battle for second place. The kid Craig Lowndes has a 25-second lead, but these four cars have been fighting so hard for second. Mark Scaife, Lowndes' teammate, holding off one of the most amazing drives from Jason Bargwanna. He's won races, he's won a round in this championship series, but this is one of his finest hours, Mark Ostler and Greg Rust, as he entertains the crowd with some incredible catches on the corners.
Well, Billy, yesterday, you remember Bargs was speaking to our own Barry Sheen about his performance so far this season, which has really, by his own admission, been tough. So this is a great performance from Bargs, doing very, very well at the moment. Grant?
Well, there's been a bit of a blunder in the last pit stop for both of the Kmart teams. Now, according to the officials, that when the cars came in, they forgot to remove the Velcro strips. Now, they ran to us, the officials, can they come in and do that? They said, yes, as long as you do that before lap 59. If they do it after then, of course, they will be penalised.
Yeah, that's a very interesting situation. If people at home may be wondering what the Velcro strips are, on the rear window, passenger window on the driver's side, there's two Velcro strips. One of those indicates when a fuel stop has been made, and one of those indicates when a compulsory tyre stop has been made. Now, under the regulations, one of the crew members has to remove one of those Velcro strips when those... Oh, look at Bargwanna! Goodness me. Tanda's got through. Yep. Tanda's taken advantage. He's down the inside, so that cost Bargwanna one position to his teammate. But I was going to say that if you don't remove one of those Velcro strips, you have to come into the pits purely to remove that Velcro strip. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the Kmart cars have to come in before those 57 laps are completed. That's the end of the pit stop window.
Thomas Mazira in the middle there. You can see Tanda, Bargwanna and Murphy in behind. They want to be getting past Thomas as quickly as possible. Now Thomas is there as they come into Mistral turn. Tanda gets through, Bargs is through, and Murphy gets sideways on the exit of Mistral as well, so he'll be keen to get past Thomas as quickly as possible. The run to the centre chicane, and there's the gap visibly from Mark Scaife to Tanda.
Tanda heads off. See if he can track down Scaife. Bargwanna drops in behind, but he won't be backing off. This is an important race for the 27-year-old. Originally from Como in New South Wales, now bases himself down in Victoria.
Murphy, that's Murphy.
He's come off there.
It's the same spot as before.
Yeah, he's having trouble breaking into that turn, obviously. It's costing him bulk time and a lot of position. We're trying to get a look at those Velcro patches on the side, the driver's side rear window. If that is the case, if they haven't removed that Velcro strip under the race regulations, he has to return to the pits purely to have that strip removed.
See Stephen Richards in the foreground there as well in car 7, the second of the Kmart Commodores.
Mark Scaife taking his racing traffic up behind Paul Morris in the big cam Commodore. So Scaife makes a clean move on the Queenslander. Tanda now has to deal with Morris. He heads out trying to track down Scaife. Meanwhile, there's a big gap, 24 seconds the gap between Craig Lowndes and Mark Scaife. So Lowndes doing it easy up front. He's got no competition. Looks like he's heading toward a clean sweep at Adelaide once again. What can this kid do wrong?
John Bauer, the Caterpillar Ford, sits in 6th place at the moment. Track appears to be still quite wet. They've got the wipers going in parts. There is a dry line appearing, so real mixed conditions here at Adelaide. Scaife gets around Stephen Richards, puts him a further lap down. You can see Tanda trying to get through. We should also say a quick cheerio to to Stephen's wife Angela, who's due to give birth any time now to their first child. She's sitting at home in Melbourne watching Stevie's progress. So from all of us, we say hi, Angela. And we can see him on screen at the moment.
We hope your fingernails grow back. This is really nerve-wracking stuff. Tander got in front of Stephen Richards, used the traffic well. Bargwana's got to find it now. Tander's got clear road between himself and the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Just look at the lap times. They're doing 1:37s, 1:38s, which is about 10 seconds off their dry track time. So the track is definitely starting to dry. You can see that drying line they're running on now. Now, this could present a problem if it remains this way. 25 laps remaining. That's whether it starts to chew out these wet weather
Now look
tyres.
at that aerial shot there, Mark. John Bow using the wet line on the track as opposed to the dry, trying to maximise the use of those wet weather tyres.
Well, what he's trying to do is cool them down, because when you're running these wet weather compound tyres, they have a very soft compound, and if they get too hot, the tyre actually starts to disintegrate. The rubber compound destabilises, the tyre is falling apart under the car. It's like driving on ball bearings. So what these drivers are trying to do is keep the temperatures down to the tyres. Who takes the Be Clear and Simple telemetry with John Bow. Let's do a lap.
In the rear view mirror, and that's Greg Murphy.
Greg Murphy was
muscling his way past.
So Murphy, after he ran off, he's recovering pretty quickly, but Bow is responding to the challenge. This is the battle for 5th position between John Bow and Greg Murphy. And Bow didn't like that one bit, got back in front of the Caterpillar Ford. But you can see the way John Bow is running. Here he goes. He ducks across to the wet part of the track, trying to cool down those tyres.
Markham doing the same thing in the background there. Take a closer look at this. This is Greg Murphy understeering off before up towards Wakefield Street, where he did a little earlier. That's twice he's done that today.
Yeah, he has really struggled with that turn. I think that's the 3rd time he's come off on Wakefield Street. So the car, or the brakes or something, not working well at that part of the track. Murphy back into the swing of things up behind Bow, and as you can see, there is rain starting to fall on the streets of Adelaide once again. So more treacherous conditions for these guys to cope with, as if they haven't had enough already.
You can have your job, Marco, as the weather forecaster. You can't pick this at all. Rain falling again in Adelaide. And John Bow defending his 5th position from the double Bathurst winner, Greg Murphy. We have another look at that incident we saw on the in-car. Murphy trying to get past.
Well, there would have been debate over the driver. And again, look at Bow, the way he caught that power slide up on that very slippery painted strip. The curbing is just like greased glass when the water comes down, and Bow did an amazing job to catch that slide. Look at the way he's drifting this car around. The tyres are obviously getting above their optimal operating temperature, making the car very skating. So Bow really manhandling this Caterpillar Be Clear and Simple Ford around the streets of Adelaide. He ducks over onto the wet line again, trying to keep the temperatures down on the tyres. Heads back onto the dry line before he brakes for speed stick turn. So Bow is really juggling an open box of confetti here. He's battling Greg Murphy, he's battling tyre temperatures, he's battling everything. The conditions to throw at him. Look at this.
2nd place is under threat now. Skate is holding it down, but Tander is on a charge. They work towards Mistral turn. Look at Skate using all of the road, climbing the curbs, and under pressure from the 23-year-old championship leader. That touch between them. Tander barges through, but he can't do it. Skate's got the better momentum. He's done it before out of Mistral turn, and he gets the grip again on the exit of that corner. Tander will have to wait to have another crack at it. There's a good gap between Tander now and Bargwana. 4 seconds is the gap between Scaife, who sits in 2nd, and our leader Craig Lowndes now down to 20 seconds.
Oh, how close was that between Matthew Coleman and the colours gap? Tander's gone off.
Oh no!
Oh, goodness me, it's coming out thick and fast. Every second there's a new incident. Garth Tander manages to gather it up, get back on the racing line in his pursuit of Mark Scape, but that's given Scape a critical breather now.
This is knife-edge stuff, isn't it? These drivers are driving it right on the absolute limit. We are on the last lap of the pit window. Stephen Richards in the Kmart Commodore, we understand, has come in. So that may be to do with what Grant was talking about before.
Now the lead, meanwhile, over the last few laps has come down. I think word from the pits is Greg Murphy is in, or Stephen Richards is in.
Now there's a problem at the front of the car there, Mark, by the looks of it. They're looking around the team.
Grant's on the spot.
Yeah, they can't get the jacks high enough, so of course they can't remove the front tyre. It's dipped down lower than the others, and it's just not off the ground. So they're going to have to get the manual jack in, which they are now. They're wheeling it under to get the car high enough to replace the wet weather tyres. This is a very slow stop. They're manually trying to lift the car up themselves. 3 crew members are picking up a quarter each, and they've done it unbelievably. Thompson just did a bit right over Manuel Crofton. And they've got the tyres. Neil's in as well, so yeah, it's all happening down here, guys.
Yeah, very hectic time in the race. Neil Compton comes in. His tyres obviously worn out as well. He's putting a new set of wets on. So it's all happening in pit lane as Stephen Richards heads out. Problems with the air jacks, so all sorts of dramas. One of the leading teams. But the gap between Craig Lowndes and Mark Scape has come down to 20 seconds. It was out to almost half a minute. Lowndes now maybe just backing off. He's only got 20 laps to go. Lowndes probably aware that Scape will be in hot pursuit, but he's controlling it from the front. There he is, our race leader. He's been doing it easy. He's had virtually no pressure since he opened up that gap.
An amazing use of that curve there, Mark. Since they've taken those tyres away today, the guys are just monstering their way across them, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what Scape said. With the tyres there, he had to brake a little harder, go back to third gear. It was a much slower time, but without those tyres there, they approach it in fourth gear, so it's a much faster corner. And you can see all the drivers using those curves, pounding right over it, all the road on the exit. Here comes Mark Scape.
Definite dry line appearing there for you at home. You can see that. And the times are coming down as well in the thick of the downpour. They were doing around 1 minute 43 second laps. Lowndes, who leads this field, his last one around was a 1:37.81. So an improvement of around about 6 seconds there. Some of the drivers, you can see John Bow continuing to use the wet line of the road. Thomas Mazera dives down the inside of Neil Crompton, and Bow tries to get through at the same time and does it. Nursing his wet weather tyres all the way around the track.
Yeah, well, imagine these tyres have got plenty of punishment under the wet conditions. Now they're being expected to last in the dry as well. I'd say the treads will be worn right down. We're probably going to see a lot more tyre stops before this race is over.
Check them out for you. Craig Lowndes is leading the way. John Bow, you can see on screen there, is in 5th place, but as we get set for a break, Lowndes leads from teammate Mark Scape, the Holden Racing duo. Then it's Tander and Bargwana, the Valvoline Cummins Commodores, Bow, Murphy Seaton and Stephen Johnson.
Yeah, it's an absolute thriller on the streets of Adelaide. Russell Ingall, Tony Longhurst, Paul Radisich, John Faulkner, Larry Perkins, Neil Crompton, Mark Larkham and Todd Kelly, the young lion, with 16.
20 laps to go, folks. This is set to be a thriller. Craig Lowndes leading from Mark Scape. Stay with us.
Typical stuff we're seeing here today. That was Paul Radisich. Stephen Johnson, I should say. Paul Radisich in car 18 for the Shell Helix Falcons. Stephen's had a great weekend. He's in 8th place at the moment. He's been very, very solid, largely stayed out of trouble, which is very difficult to do in these conditions today. Not many laps to go. The lead of Craig Lowndes is down to just under 18 seconds. Mark Scape, his teammate, second. Then Tander and Bargwana and John Bow. Will we see another pit stop before the end? That's the big question.
Billy, so many equations opening up here. Tyres are definitely a factor. The weather is still a factor. And driver fitness, that's of course a factor. What will happen towards the end of this race? It's good to see the team at Dick Johnson Racing praising Stephen's efforts. They've done a great job with him so far this year, just easing him into the role of driving the number 17 Ford. His first ever appearance on the streets of Adelaide, and driving with an incredibly clear and level-headed approach. Did it well yesterday. Currently sits on the circuit in 8th position, so he's doing a great job of things. Grant?
Well, a costly mistake for the Kmart team during their pit stop for tyres. To tell us more, Gary Dunborough, what happened?
Well, Grant, when we bought the both cars
was in for the tyre stop to put the wets on. We neglected to take the tyre strips off the windscreen, the rear screen, which meant we had to come back and either rip the strip off, which we checked with the officials without changing tyres again, as we'd already had to stop, which we did in Greg's case. In Stephen's case, we tried to change tyres, and then we had an air jack problem, so we had to get the trolley jack out to jack the car up. It's one of those things, you know, we came in obviously early with the wet tyres, and we neglected to take it off, which was a costly mistake, as at one stage Greg was leading the race.
Do you believe that has affected the outcome of the race for you guys, possibly?
Well, you know, Greg slipped from 5th to 6th when we brought him in, and Stephen also had a spin by himself, so certainly I'm not sure what that covers. We lost a spot with Greg at the time.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, those sort of errors can cost you a race win, and it's very difficult for the drivers out there at the moment, so the last thing they need is miscalculations or mistakes in the pits. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay. Incident earlier, and I believe it's Thomas Mazzira getting in trouble. He was just out of shot. There he is. Oh, goodness. Hope he keeps it off the concrete walls. Oh, the Gatorade Commodore of Peter Dorman's already there. But Thomas, fortunately, guiding it backwards down that escape road. No damage. Now we hear the Scaife is continuing to close the gap. Oh, look at this.
That's Craig Lowndes.
Smoke? That's smoke coming from that car, is it? He's got a... Now, he's on the dry line, and there's something belching, but that's blue smoke. Lowndes has got a problem.
Can you believe this?
Wow. We saw him have an engine failure in race 2 at Phillip Island. And there is... What's going on here? Oh, look at the way he's sliding the car around. This smoke looks like it's coming from the front of the car. So mechanical dramas for our race leader. He's been doing it easy all day. And now he's coping with some sort of problem in the car. What's he going to do? Is he going to keep trying to limp around, or is he going to bring it into pit lane?
He's coming in. No, he's coming in. They're concerned about how bad it might be. We've been monitoring the course of the Holden Racing Team radio communiques with him. You can see Lowndes getting sideways on the entrance to pit lane. That is oil of some kind. I'd suggest it's going over the back tyres, and on the wet surface that is making it treacherous. Baz?
I just spoke to Jeff Brecky. They don't know what it is at the moment, so their guess is as good as anybody else's. They're just having a look underneath to suss out where it's obviously oil or something coming from the front through underneath. You see that they've got the bonnet up, and just having a look. I can't see anything. Craig's turned the motor off, so it sounds pretty nasty to me.
Jeff Breck is there, crew chief Matty Crawford and all the boys.
Meanwhile, Mark Scaife has gone through to the lead.
End of the story. Craig's getting out of the car.
Mark Scaife has gone through to the lead. Grant Tanders 4.3 seconds behind Scaife. Jason Bargwanna in third. That moves Bauer up to fourth. The first of the Fords as Craig Lowndes bows out of the Adelaide Futsal 500.
Wretched luck for the guy who drove from last place to first.
Look at the oil
at the end of 99, yeah.
That's been pumping out a massive amount of oil, and Lowndes was doing a very good job to drive that back to the pits. He was driving sideways all over the place as all that oil tipped on his rear tyres.
Now, Mark, bear in mind the complexion of this has changed dramatically. Scaife, as you quite rightly pointed out, leads it. Tander is just 4 seconds in behind Mark Scaife, and Bargwanna a further 4 seconds to his teammate Garth Tander. So we are set for a thrilling finish.
Well, this will be good news to Mark Scaife. He was desperately unhappy yesterday after missing out on the chance of taking some of those 80 points. But now he's in the box seat to claim 160 double points on Sunday. Of all the races to win, this is the one Mark Scaife needs. This race cost him the championship last year. He'll be very determined not to have that happen again in 2000.
Deja vu for the Holden Racing Team, but let's not put the mockers on Mark Scaife at this stage. Last year it was Lowndes from rear of grid to first. Could this be the day that Mark Scaife does it from rear of grid to first place?
How extraordinary, unbelievable situation. There's second place, Garth Tander in the bruised and battered Valvoline Cummins Commodore car 34. There's his teammate Jason Bargwanna in 35. So the Valvoline Cummins team in hot pursuit of the Holden Racing Team. A very despondent factory Holden team there. Very unlikely failure. And when you think about it, that's 2 major mechanical failures Lowndes had in season 2000. Not what you'd expect to see.
No. And very, very rare from the Holden Racing Team, who run what many believe is the benchmark or the slickest outfit in pit lane.
The way that oil is all over the place. I wonder if bouncing off the curbs, he's managed to rupture an oil cooler, or
Maybe one of the lines has come loose or something, Mark? Yeah.
Because it oils all around the front of the engine. Only time will tell when the boys have done their synopsis. But that leaves Craig Lowndes in pit lane and his teammate Mark Scaife leading the Adelaide Clipsal 500. This is the battle. Their second position, Garth Tander, and just in the background there, Bargwanna. First, second and third.
What will happen as we count down to the conclusion of the Clipsal 500? Will it stay dry? Will it remain wet? Will they be able to nurse the tyres home? At the moment, the gap has increased very slightly between Scaife and Tander, now out to 5.3 seconds. Scaife, your leader from Tander. Jason Bargwanna. In the top 10, we have 5 forward. So the Blue Oval fans will be quite pleased about that. Bow is one of them, Seaton another, Stephen Johnson, Tony Longhurst and Paul Radisich.
You know, we've just been doing our sums on the championship. If these guys finish the way they are, Tander will leave Adelaide with a very handy points lead in the Shell Championship Series. It'll be 422 to Tander. Scaife will be second with 368. That'll be a huge boost to his fortunes. Radisich, 315 in third. Seaton, 292 in fourth. Johnson, that's an outstanding performance if he leaves here in the top 5 in the championship. And then Craig Lowndes back in 6th position. So it's a real topsy-turvy championship. You never know what is going to happen until that checkered flag falls.
Be interesting to know the strategy of the Gary Rogers Motorsport team. Do they settle for second and third and bag the points, particularly, as Mark mentioned there, for the sake of Garth Tander, or do they push on for a win? The gap has increased a further half second. Now, Scaife 5.8 seconds clear of Tander.
Marching on through the spray. 27-year-old Jason Bargwanna has not had a good start to the championship. Finds himself back in 17th place in the Shell Series coming into this race. But this performance, if he can bring it home, will boost him right up the order. So important to do well in these endurance races with more points on offer.
Barnes is one of the lightest guys in the field and has actually lost a bit of weight over the Christmas period. He's been working with his girlfriend Deb, who's an aerobics instructor. She's put him on a fairly strict fitness program and he's trying to remain very focused about the 2000 championship. Jason Bargwanna doing a great job in third place and his most spirited drive of the season so far.
This is the fastest forward at the moment. John Bow, riding a horde of Commodores around him. He's in 4th position. And there's Craig Lowndes, desperately disappointed. Matthew Crawford, his engineer there, talking to him with a smile on his face, but I know they'd be hiding great disappointment, all the boys there. There's his wife, Natalie. Gives him a kiss, but that's small consolation for the huge disappointment of that engine failure. Let's have a look on the Shell Helix replay.
John Faulkner diving down the inside of Chris Smurden. Oh, and the two of them touch. Yeah.
Now, there's another car behind there too. Let's hope he got through okay. Just John Bow hanging on there in 4th position. Just managed to avoid Faulkner. Faulkner was running in 12th position at the time.
Now, Anthony Tratter's gone up there as well in the Toll Express Falcon.
Just as they come up the rise there, it must be a very slippery part of the racetrack because a lot of cars have been getting caught out there today.
Funny you should say that, the guy we're watching now, Mark. Car 12, Greg Murphy, has gone off there 3 times today in that very spot. So it has proven to be a place that has caught a lot of cars out. 12 laps to go as you watch car 12. Greg Murphy, he sits in 5th place as we work towards the end of the Clipsal 500. Mark Scaife leading from Garth Tander. The gap has remained constant this lap, 5.84 seconds between Scaife and Tander.
Greg Murphy, the 27-year-old Kiwi, all the way from Hastings, New Zealand. His 26 championship starts in the Shell Series. He's taken 4 pole positions, 4 wins. He's done the podium 6 times. He's one of these guys that when the car is right, he is absolutely electric. His last Shell Championship Series win, of course, was the big one. The FAI 1000 at Bathurst last year when he teamed with Stephen Richards. But the persistent problem with these cars, and we've seen over the last couple of seasons, they can't get good qualifying speed out of them. That hurts their grid position. Let's have a look at that spin. And oh, look how close Bow came. Just ducked around the inside of Faulkner's car. So Bow has had everything thrown at him this weekend, but the experience of the 44-year-old shining through. Grant Denyer.
Well, Gary Rogers, what do? You've got your boys 2nd and 3rd. Do you just go for the points, or can we see you boys push on for the win?
Oh, no, look, I mean, obviously the points are very important, but in a race like this, it can be really critical because having driven over a few years, particularly in the wet, you get accustomed to a certain speed, and if you try and slow them up, your braking marker points of different things can be quite different. So in actual fact, you might think you're doing the right thing by telling them to slow down, but really, you're better off to let them press on at this stage, I think.
Do you believe they can catch Scaife?
I don't think so. I think he's doing a great job, Mark, and the gap seems to be remaining about the same. We're about 2.5 seconds to Tander and then another couple of seconds back to Barks, but we'll keep trying as hard as we can.
Thanks, Gary. Barry?
Yeah, what a shame, Craig.
Well, it is. Obviously, the guys did a fantastic job. Our pit stops couldn't have worked any better, and the car was going very, very well. Unfortunately, the guys will have to have a look to see what's wrong, but while we're out there, the car was very good.
You also had a massive oil leak at the front there.
Well, it was quite strange. When I was under acceleration down a main straight, or either straight, it was smoking quite badly, but under brakes through a corner it wasn't. So I don't know whether it was just swaying around the oil or somewhere, but it's unfortunate. It was spraying onto the rear wheels. It was starting to lose traction. So
that's all you need in this weather.
Well, exactly. You're better off coming in and unfortunately putting the car on the wall. So it's not a long year to go yet, Barry.
Great sportsman. See, you're still smiling, Craig.
Well, you can't. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, this weekend was probably the highlight of our year, and really we had a great day yesterday. Unfortunately, today it wasn't to be, but long year to come.
Never mind.
Thanks, Barry.
How it can turn around in 24 hours. Celebrations at the end of yesterday, commiserations today for Craig Lowndes. Gary Wilmington has gone off big time, or Gary Holt rather, I'll get that right, has gone off big time there.
Well, he's in the Gary Wilmington car.
Yes.
But look, the interesting thing about that is the safety car is sitting there ready to go out. They might have to bring it out. Let's have a look on the Shell Helix replay of that incident. Or this is another incident, maybe.
That's Murphy going down the inside of Anthony Trent. Now, this is maybe what happened before there, when we saw both of them going off at that same spot. Goodness me, there's Faulkner coming back on. Wow! That's all happening.
Real problems there, but that may bring the safety car out. They're just deliberating at the moment whether they're going to bring the car out and whether Gary Holt's car is in a dangerous position. Eastern Creek karting injury.
His car is an ex-Tony Longhurst EL Ford Falcon. We'll take a closer look at it here. Wow, no. Now that's through the centre chicane. And he's backed it in. Almost rolls it over. Holt.
Has he backed it in? Big hit. Fortunately, those tyres there absorbed some of the impact. Gary Holt's out of the car. He's okay. But there is bated breath down in the pits now. They're going to bring out a safety car. Now, the Gary Rogers team certainly would appreciate that, but Scaife at the moment is showing a lot of speed, maintaining a gap 6.6 seconds now. Look at this replay. Look at this at normal speed.
For those of you at home, you may recall a big rollover in the support races at Honda Indy last year. On that occasion, it was a Subaru Impreza WRX, big rollover for Gary Holt. His experience around the concrete jungles, the street circuits, gets no better. Wow, that's a real shame. Here is Mark Scaife, your leader, car 2. And leading things, the gap has increased now to 7.5 seconds over Garth Tander.
He's doing a good job, isn't he? Pumping out that lead. Now, whether Tander has decided to settle for second rather than risk hanging on a concrete wall this close to the end of the race, only the drivers will be able to tell us later on. But Scaife now the lead, 7.5 seconds over Tander in second. Bargwanna still in third. Bow hangs on to fourth.
9 laps to go in this one, Mark. For Ford fans, if you've just joined us, unfortunately, Holden's running 1, 2 and 3 on the road. John Bow, the best of the Blue Oval Brigade, he's in 4th place. Then it's Greg Murphy, Seaton, Johnson, Russell Ingall in 8th, Tony Longhurst 9th and Radisich 10th.
Let's have a look at this on the Shell Helix replay. Another one. Incident's coming thick and fast.
That's Bargwanna. Jason Bargwanna getting tagged by Dulman there. Oh, and Barks crossed up. That's again at Wakefield Street, which has claimed or caught out so many today.
Well, I don't know. There could be some oil or something down there. Now look at the rain. It's coming down again. So you just can't pick these weather conditions. The wet weather tyres that these guys have been driving on this dry line would have been punishing those tyres mercilessly, really wearing down the treads. But these tyres wouldn't be nearly so effective in wet conditions if it really buckets down again. So it's a real fight for survival. Everyone hanging on by their fingernails. But this man's doing the best job at the moment. 7.5 seconds up the road from Garth Tander is Mark Scaife.
Will the tyres last? Under 10 laps to go in the Clipsal 500 for 2,000. Scaife, Tander, Bargwanna, Bow, Murphy, Seaton, Johnson, Ingall, Longhurst and Radisich. They are the top 10.
So the flames belching from that special exhaust system. The whole racing team have fitted to both their cars to try and get the heat away from the drivers as much as possible. And now Scaife pushing his way through the traffic, up over the curb, using all the road for maximum speed on the exit from Speed Stick down toward the hairpin at the end of the long Brabham Straight. So Mark Scaife, 32 years of age, Originally from Gosford, from the New South Wales Central Coast. Now lives down the outskirts of Melbourne. Incredible record. 98 championship starts, 17 pole positions, 18 wins. He's been on the podium 43 times for those 98 starts. A very, very consistent performer. This will take his wins up to 19 if he can bring this one home. And some crucial championship points.
Keep in mind also, Mark, that since he's joined the Holden Racing team, Mark Scaife has not won a championship or an endurance race. This will be his first endurance race victory in quite some time if he can go on to do it.
Glenn Seaton, well, he'd be disappointed because in the dry conditions, he really was one of the pace setters. But as the wets come down, he's found himself a bit further back in the field. All those pit stops, all that strategy came into play as we take the Be Clear and Simple onboard telemetry. We've got your road speed on the right-hand side, engine revolutions on, sorry, road speed on the left, engine revolutions on the right. In the middle there, you can see the gear selections. And that red light to the left of the number 5 is the brake application, so you get a good idea of what's going on. Look at the way it snaps sideways under power as Seaton tries to guide this car through the concrete blind streets.
Seaton, champion in 93 and champion in 97 in the FTR Falcon, and at the moment he sits in 6th place on the road. Seaton, he finished 2nd yesterday, but further back than he would like today. Scaife leading the way for the Holden Racing team. Tander in 2nd, Bargwanna in 3rd, and it's Bow, Murphy, Seaton and Ingle. We are on the countdown to the finish in Adelaide. Welcome back to Adelaide. We are on the run to home in the Clipsal 500. And there's your leader, Mark Scaife. Oh, and Todd Kelly having a moment there in the Holden Young Lions entry. That is its speed stick turn. In fact, just the entry, rather, to Adelaide Straight. Take a closer look at that. No doubt, Scaife leading the way from Tander. The gap now out to 8.5 seconds. And then a further 8 seconds between Tander and his teammate Jason Bargwanna. Unbelievable performance from Scaife when you consider, as we run to home, that last year it was Lowndes. This year it'll be his teammate Scaife from last to first. Crompton, now what's going on here? This is the Shell Helix replay. Kelly and contact with John Faulkner. I wonder if that's damaged the left front on Kelly's car, because he really struggled a couple of corners further along.
Oh, it's just so difficult out there, isn't it? Just a skating rink. Rain still coming down as Mark Scaife continues to blaze through the field. Headlights on, carrying good car speed. Still 3 laps remaining. And there's the list in the top left-hand corner. The enormously high attrition rate this afternoon. Steve Reed, Wayne Wakefield, Steve Ellery, Mark Paul, Rodney Forbes, Cameron McConville, all falling victim to this place. Dougal McDougall, Gary Holt, and the most famous of all, Craig Lowndes, after dominating this race. Engine problems in the whole racing team Commodore has cost him a potential 160 points.
Just monitoring the cross chat between the team in pit lane, from Holden Racing to this guy, Mark Scaife, our race leader. And they're telling him just keep it cool, keep a level head, you're on your way home. And can Scaife do it? His first endurance race victory since joining the Holden Racing team. And looking good on this street circuit in Adelaide. It's been a fabulous weekend so far. His teammate Lowndes taking the win yesterday.
There's 2nd place. Garth Tander fought gallantly throughout this race, but in the end, just no response to the speed of Scaife, particularly over the last 10 laps of the race. It's the gap out to 9 seconds now, so Tander driving with his head, though, because if he finishes 2nd here, he's going to go and he will remain at the lead of the Shell Championship Series scoreboard. A handy lead, too, over Scaife. So positions remain the same. This has been a good, consistent run for Garth Tander. This man really has his eyes on the major prize. That is the Shell Championship Series crown.
Cross chat you can hear there is from the Holden Racing team to Mark Scaife. And interestingly, in the lead up to this race, Scaife uppermost in his mind was thinking about points. He was stunned yesterday when he had trouble, or the team had trouble with a 50-cent part. Oh, Scaife's gone off! Did you believe it? In the same place that everyone's gone off today, Mark Scaife's gone off. Tony Longhurst has gone off too.
Radisic's down the inside, but he's got a lap to make up. So 2 to go, and the team are telling him it's okay. It's okay, just keep it together. You've still got a handy lead. It was 9 seconds. Let's see if Tander wasn't even in view there, so he's still got a pretty healthy gap between himself and his closest pursuer. So, aha. Starting moment there from Mark Scaife. Let's have a look down the straight. And that should be Tander, yep, just up behind that car. So this is the gap between first and second. And Scaife really, he was lacking concentration. I can't imagine it. The conditions so changeable and so tricky, and so many cars got caught out in that turn at the top of Wakefield Street. Oh, there's another one. It's Trevor Ashby. So Scaife, fight for survival. He's got to try and bring it home. Scaife will claim a big haul of points.
Scaife will get the last lap board to go this time around. As I was saying before, he was so conscious of points and was robbed of them yesterday when a spark plug played up on them. Forced him to come into pit lane and put pay to his day today.
Mark, last lap, mate. Come on, mate. You can do it.
Well, the team's saying he can do it, and he can do it. He'll get the last lap board this time around. All he's got to do is bring it home. We'll check the gap for you back to second place to Garth Tander. And at 6.1 seconds, and one would assume, Mark, at that sort of level, with one lap of the 3.2 kilometre Adelaide circuit to go, it's going to be just too big.
Even these tricky conditions, there is the battle. It's been on all race. Tremendous contest between the best touring car teams in the country. Jason Bargwanna in third. A good fight, put up a great fight. If he can bring it home in third, that's going to help his championship campaign no end. A big points haul in the endurance races. Just listening to the team talking to Mark Scaife there, plays a very important role in the psyche of any driver. Pretty lonely job sitting out there in the car. You've got all sorts of things happening to him. But the calming voice of a team member talking at home can play a big part. There's his wife, Belinda, and their son, Mitchell, watching on from pit lane. And everything crossed that hubby can bring it home.
Last year, a crash put Scaife's car out of this race, and the loss of points from it, many believe, cost him the championship. Today, he is on course for victory in race 2 of the Clipsal 500. Mark Scaife, twice a winner on the mountain and twice Shell Series champion, and looking good for his first victory on the streets of Adelaide. Scaife, he heads into the final turn. Mistral corner, the Holden Racing team are on the wall as they await their driver, Mark Scaife. On the sidelines yesterday, today he greets the checkered flag. Last place to first. Well done to Mark Scaife, a storming drive. He said the best drive of his career.
Give me that heart attack that last few laps, though.
Yeah, you did give even the team a heart attack at those last few laps. There's Mitchell, very proud son of Mark Scaife and the team, patting themselves on the back. Had a disaster with the other car. It doesn't really matter because one of those Red Barons has brought it home, and Mark Scaife this time wasn't that well deserved after the disaster last year. Here's the first Ford in the pack, John Bow, surviving for 4th position. He won't get onto the podium, but he will pick up a big bag of points, and that's going to help his championship campaign no end because he's right down the order.
Should say well done to the Gary Rogers Valvoline Cummins Motorsport team. Garth Tander home second. Jason Bargwanna, his first podium of the season. So well done. In the background there you can see very briefly the two teammates driving side by side and congratulating one another. Sensational scenes here around Adelaide as Mark Scaife has driven from last place to first to claim victory. Deja vu for the Holden Racing team. In 99 it was Craig Lowndes. Today it was Mark Scaife. His family look on, and so do the team. A wonderful moment for Scaife. His first endurance victory with the Holden Racing team. His first win at Adelaide. he would be loving this. The crowd have really stuck around too, despite the rain, to congratulate him. They've seen a great race. Mark Skaife from Garth Tander, Bargwanna, Bow, Murphy and Ingle. It's been a wonderful race. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with the podium presentations.
A double for the Mobile Holden Racing team this weekend. One each to Skaife and Lowndes. Celebrations for the Skaife family. Belinda there. And Skaife Jr., well, he's really wanted this one too. As our commentators pointed out, his first Enduro win for the Mobile Holden Racing team. Now officially Garth Tander second, which takes him to a 54-point lead in the championship. Skaife is second in the championship after that victory today, and he leads Paul Radicic by 53 points. Stephen Johnson getting into the top 8 brings him to 5th in the championship overall. Terrific performance there for young Johnson. And you can hear the cheers. Valvoline Cummins 2 and 3, but Skaife is number 1. All Holdens after Glenn Seaton's brave effort for Ford yesterday. It's an all Commodore podium and a very interesting scenario in the Shell Championship Series. Let's go to Mark Osler for the presentations.
We'll sound them. They came alive to the roar of Falcons and Commodores in the streets of Adelaide, and give yourselves a pat on the back, folks. Adelaide's done it again. Okay, right now I'd like to call on Roger Cook, the chairman of the South Australian Motorsport Board, to make the presentation to our third place man today. He's a real charger, Jason Bargwanna. Come over here, Jason. Would that be one of the drives of your career, you think?
Oh, that was great. That was just so fun. I didn't realise that battle in there was for first place, but if I'd known that, I might have given Skaife a tap.
So that looked incredibly tough out there. You were slipping and sliding all over the place.
Yeah, but the car was quite under control all the time, and thank God I was driving a Commodore. It was fantastic.
Well done. Jason Bargwanna, third place today in the Clipsal Adelaide 500. I'd like to call on the Honourable Joan Hall, the Minister for Tourism, to make the presentation to second place today. And by that strong performance today, he still leads the Shell Championship Series for 2000. Put your hands together for Garth Tander. Wow, he's really chasing Skaife hard there in the rain, but looks like he just had a little bit too much speed toward the end.
Yeah, actually, I was like Jason. I didn't realise we were battling for the lead. I put it pressed on a bit more, but he got away. I made a mistake up the end there, and he managed to get a gap, and then that was it from the end. And thanks to our guys, they did a fantastic job. We had the fastest car here this weekend. Things didn't go our way, but hey, we're still leading the championship, so that's the main thing.
Congratulations, Garth Tander, second on the streets of Adelaide. And now the big moment. The laurel wreath will be presented by Rob Gerard, from the Managing Director of Gerard Industries, and the Perpetual Trophy from John Olsen, the Premier of South Australia, to our overall winner, Mark Skaife. You've got blisters on your hands there, Skaife. I tell you what, there must be something about the Holden Racing team, and starting off the back of the grid at Adelaide, it seems to be the magic formula.
Well, I mean, the thing you got to say, Mark, is that probably Craig's drive last year was the best of his career, and I've got to say that today my drive was the best of mine. And it's the best thing about this team. It's the no-give-up team. If you're at the back of the grid, you still press on, and certainly for Holden today, obviously, to be on the podium is just unbelievable. Great job, fellas.
Now, that 160 points you get from that win lifts you to second on the Shell Championship table. That's a much better way to leave Adelaide than it was last year, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I said to you yesterday that was sort of this place was my nemesis. Now I love the place. So we'll be back again, and, we can't wait to come back. It's just fantastic.
Put your hands together, folks. Mark Skaife, sensational on the streets of Adelaide in 2000.
There's no doubt about him, Skaife. He talks the talk. And he walks the walk as we try and dodge the champagne spray from right underneath the podium here in Adelaide. Full race score as we look back at some marvellous performances. There was Radicic in 9th place, keeping his championship hopes alive. Tony Longhurst in the top 10. What a tough weekend for Larry Perkins and Russell Ingall. Russell managing to take 6th place. Larry back through the field. Craig Lowndes very happy that his team has managed to pick up a double, even though his championship chances have suffered as a result. But he'll be in there fighting. Don't forget that Barry Sheen, Craig Lowndes, the only 2 times he has not won, he has not finished. So that has really cost him.
Quite incredible. What a fantastic weekend's racing. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better than that. That was action-packed. And as Tander said, he didn't even realise he was in 2nd place towards the end. But a great race.
Adding to that drama was the fact that Scapey had that little run-off at Wakefield there. And if Garth had have known and had have been a little bit closer, who knows? But that's motor racing. It happens all the time.
That's it. And everybody, I mean, the crowd here has been tremendous. It's been a fantastic day. And I just feel sorry for him sitting out in the pouring rain. But amazing. Good old Scapey.
Look at them gathered there behind Mark Scaife as he celebrates with the trophy. Round 4 from Eastern Creek Raceway. You've got to love this series. All 13 rounds and all variety we have in the Shell Championship. Sprints, enduros. We're back to the short course at Eastern Creek. Off the street, onto a permanent road circuit again. But permanent excitement here in this marvellous event, which is heading overseas for the first time next year across the Tasman to New Zealand for another street race at Pukekohe and perhaps even further afield in the future. Marvellous stuff here as Mark Scaife celebrates victory in the Clipsal 500. Thank you very much for joining us today on behalf of the entire crew from Network 10. We hope you'll join us again next time. Bye for now.